Chapter 1. Attention everyone, attention please. Due to the incident 2 days ago, I have yielded to the insistence of the DMLE and agreed to the posting of an order on school grounds to discourage any further pranks of this caliber. I would like to introduce a former graduate of Hogwarts, Miss Tonks. The metamorphomagus stepped forward with a grin. This was going to be the easiest field assignment ever. Bones had informed her that some kid had been petrified as a result of a prank, so she was to stick around and make sure it didn't happen again. Although they did not know the cause, Dumbledore was fairly positive that it was nothing serious, and should it escalate, further reinforcements would be brought in. Comment. Basically, she was being paid extra, and overtime, to hang around Hogwarts and babysit a bunch of brats for a few months. Naturally, this would be going on her record and field experience and potentially even help with a future promotion. Watcher all, my name is Tonks. Just Tonks. I am here to make sure all of you cute little kids are safe and sound, so if anyone is picking on you, feel free to let me know. I have a very important and exciting announcement to make, children. Due to the raw terror that is currently roaming our halls, Headmaster Dumbledore has authorized me to start up a dueling club in each year to teach self-defense. In order to save time, I will be doing 1 year at a time. First year students have already went through their lesson, and so now it is your turn. The professor cheerfully announced as he strutted around in his outfit. Perhaps, Lockhart, we should get on with the lesson? Some of us have more important things to do than watch you model the latest fashion trend. Snape growled from the corner of the room, earning a chuckle from the other adult. Yes, of course. Now then, we will be going through the basics of wizarding duels, and as such the first step is to have a pair of volunteers. Excuse me, Professor, if I might make a suggestion. Harry, of course. If you and Professor Snape gave us a brief demonstration, it might prove a better example. Well. A glance over towards the darker of the two men earned a pause from the fraud for a moment, before he nodded. I suppose it will have to do. I hate to show off at another teacher's expense, but it will provide valuable information for all of you intrepid youths. Harry forced himself not to roll his eyes in annoyance. Perhaps he should have volunteered himself. That was when he accidentally murdered the man. It might not be quite as suspicious. As Severus himself took his position at the opposite end of the defense professor, he overheard a whispered conversation between several of the Slytherins. I didn't know Snape could duel. Of course he can. I imagine he is quite impressive. Odd that Potter knew that fact concerning him, and the way he spoke sounded almost like a compliment from the boy. First, we bow. The two adults proceeded to do so. Next, we assume our dueling stances. Lockhart's was, well, what every expected from the man. A ridiculous pose that looked as impractical as standing on one's head. Snape's was far more lethal, minimizing his surface area while allowing his wand to rest in an offensive opening position. Then, we begin, the blonde called out, before launching a simple disarming hex, which was easily deflected before a far more powerful spell was launched in counter, and tossed the man across the platform. And that is how you duel. Why yes, well, obviously I went easy on Professor Snape, but we simply do not have time to go into the more advanced dueling methods. Now then, 2 volunteers please. I'll take on any of the snakes. Fighting back the urge to laugh at the Weasley, Harry noticed Draco tense up through his peripheral vision. My lord, please, the blonde whispered, his eyes never straying from Ron, who stood smugly across from them. Go on, Draco. I will take the weasel on. Both students hastily climbed up the walls and onto the platform, each backed by a professor should anything go wrong. A rivalry is born. This is a good opportunity to show the differences between how a Gryffindor and a Slytherin duels. Even Snape rolled his eyes slightly at this as the two preteens took on their stances, albeit far closer than the adults were, in order to improve their aim. Scared weasel. I am going to make you even uglier, Malfoy. Ron attacked first, sending a prank hex that his brothers had used on him previously. What he had not been counting on was his opponent to duck out of the way so easily, and fire a counter curse that tossed the boy backward several feet, and onto his ass. Really, Weasel, a spell to turn my pants yellow? That is how children duel, not wizards. 20 points to Slytherin. Severus intoned. Watcher, you must be Harry Potter. Indeed, and you are Miss Tonks, correct? The boy inquired, his eyes seeming to pierce through her own gaze, as if he stared into her very soul. 1. Why yeah, I am the Auror here to make sure everyone is safe. I see, well, I certainly feel safer with you around. If it had been anyone else, Tonks might have found sarcasm in his voice, but oddly there was none. Apparently the young man truly did feel safer around her, sending an odd feeling of triumph through her body. I am glad, Mr. Please, just call me Harry. I do so hope we can see more of each other as the school year goes on. Naturally, I pray you solve the mystery behind these attacks, though. Quite the conundrum I find myself in. Yeah. I agree and stuff. 1. Well, if you ever need anything, Miss Tonks, it is never difficult to find me. Yeah, sure, I will remember that, thanks. With that, the woman practically bolted down the hallway, trying to figure out why in Merlin's name she was acting like a lovesick schoolgirl around the boy, and to calm her rapidly beating heart. 1. Want to read more exciting chapters? Then join my Patreon right now and get access to 60+ premium chapters. Comment. Link, #Patreon.com/kittylovesmilk, remove the hashtag. Free members get 2+ advanced chapters for free. Join now. Comment. 9. Comment. Vote. Chapter 2. So Neville, how has your studies progressed this year? The previously chubby boy slowed, allowing for his closest friend to catch up with him. Very good, my Harry. It seems like Snape has backed off a bit lately, which has even helped out potions class. Indeed, quite an odd turn of events. I thought you would have been the cause of that. Not this time. Although I may have been indirectly, perhaps the headmaster finally decided to force Professor Snape to cease his mindless bullying. The Longbottom shrugged as the pair walked together. I have to thank you though, Gran sent me a letter last month about how proud she was of my improvements. The only reason for those is your tutoring, the Slytherins helping me in a few classes, and my new wand. All of these were because of you. Nonsense, Neville, you have grown on your own just as I knew you would. You will continue growing so long as you can find the inner strength to do so. As long as I am with you, Harry, I know I can do anything. Then continue to walk with me, Neville, and you will achieve greatness you cannot imagine. The door slammed behind her as Hermione Granger ran into the nearest stall, thankfully not occupied, and hastily shut the barrier behind her before locking it and slumping down onto the toilet. Seconds later, the tears she had held back came running down her face despite her efforts to control her sobs. This year was supposed to be different. She had rationalized that the first year was sort of an introduction to the magical world, a test run for everyone to get to know each other, and then they would come back after the summer more mature and accepting. That hadn't happened. In fact, it was even worse. This year, the bullies were stronger, braver, and more vicious in their words. The girls in her class would taunt her about her hair, her lack of makeup, her ugliness. While the boys, usually Ronald Weasley, would laugh at her lack of friends and her annoying behavior. But she could have disregarded it, could have ignored it all if she could have just made a single friend, but she hadn't. No one had even bothered to pretend this year, unlike last when they at least acted like they might be interested in her. Worse still was her parents. She had been warned that it was a difficult transition for Muggle-born wizards and witches. Most of the pure blood, and even some half-bloods, already had ties and friendships established from before they entered Hogwarts. She had none. When she had returned to her family over the previous winter holidays, her mother and father had attempted to converse with her regarding school, but it was no use. They simply could not comprehend the cultural differences and the subtleties of magic. Even worse was that during the summer her lack of exposure to the Muggle world was far more obvious than ever before. She had sat in silence for the first dinner back, trying to think of something to talk to her parents about, but there was nothing they held in common. She could not keep up with recent events and could not explain the magical classes she took. When she had attempted to do so, their eyes seemed to dull, and the fake smiles that she had always dreaded appeared on their faces. It was the same as when she had tried to explain Muggle concepts to a pureblood. They were pretending to care. Halfway through the summer, and Hermione Granger realized that she was alone. There was no one in the Muggle world she could talk to about her problems, and few, if any, in the magical world seemed to listen. McGonagall herself had grown busy with the new first years and everything else that was occurring in the school to have more than a brief conversation concerning homework. Even then the older witch seemed almost annoyed at having to take time out of her schedule to talk about academics. Thus the bushy-haired witch sat and cried, not only from the hateful words and attitudes but at the loneliness that surrounded her. Why couldn't she be more like Harry Potter? She had overheard more than a few of classmates muttering this about her behind her back. It wasn't her fault that she wasn't perfect. That he was better than her in every way. That he could not only outperform her, without effort on his part it seemed, in every class, but that the teachers adored him. That his entire house followed him like he was their messiah. That even those of other houses, especially the girls, could be seen sneaking glances at him whenever they thought it was safe. He was beautiful, intelligent, powerful, charismatic, social, and wise. Everything she had always wanted to be, and more. Albus sodding Dumbledore, once again the old bastard just had to stick his neck in and ruin his plans once again. First he had moved to shut down Hogwarts after the girl had been killed decades prior, and now he had called in Aurors, thus making further continuation of the plan painstakingly slow. The memory could get away with maybe 1 or 2 sneak-outs, using the girl's body, before being caught. If only it was easier to transfer control, or fully possess the girl. Perhaps it was time to give the basilisk a more general command, to have it target students at random to take focus away from his host and buy himself more breathing room. After all, the attacks were a mere bonus in comparison to the grander scheme of resurrection. Then all would fear the name Voldemort once more. I don't understand what the big deal is, Daff. Oh please, like you do not see what is going on. They follow him around like they are his servants, Tracy. If I remember right. You were the one who told me that sort of thing did tend to happen in Slytherin. That those with power always lead. Yes they do, but the problem is that it usually isn't like this. I mean sure each year tends to form social groups, but Tracy, the 7th years are starting to follow him around. I think you are overreacting, the youngest Davis child muttered, as she flopped back onto her bed. I think he's cute. Of course. He is cute, but Daphne Greengrass snapped her mouth shut, her eyes widening in surprise as her face turned completely red. Ha! I knew it. Even the Ice Queen herself is attracted to him. Tracy. Are you going to try and sneak into his room like the others? Try and get a little sneak peek. Tracy. The girl turned towards her best friend, and noticed the embarrassed anger in her eyes. Daff, You know I was just teasing you. I didn't mean. I know. I am just not used to this. It is scary, Tracy. It feels like I am being pulled towards him. Like when he talks that no one else is in the room but you and him. Like you just wanted to give him everything he could ever want. 1. Yes. The half-blooded girl nodded. I feel the same way, Daff, but I don't think it is bad. Just a bit intense. I don't like it, Tracy. I don't care what the others are doing, but I am staying away from him for now. I think you should too. Alright, but just for now. Want to read more exciting chapters? Then join my Patreon right now and get access to 60 plus premium chapters. Link, #Patreon.com/kittylovesmilk, remove the hashtag. Free members get 2 plus advanced chapters for free. Join now. Comment. 5 comment. Vote. Chapter 3. Excuse me, my lord. Harry glanced up from the book he had been reading, to focus his attention on one of the older Slytherins standing before him. Yes. I was hoping you could help me with something. And that would be my young brother. He just started this year and, well, he is being picked on. I know I shouldn't bother you with such trivial things, but he isn't taking it well. The raven-haired boy nodded. And who is behind the bullying of one of our own? The Weasley twins, my lord. They call themselves the Devils of Gryffindor. I don't know if you can do anything, but I heard that they pick on a lot of Slytherins and other students. Giving a slight hum of concentration, the boy who lived paused for a moment before nodding. Yes. I should be able to take care of this problem for you. Thank you, my lord. A casual wave dismissed the third year, who promptly scurried off to speak with his brother. Let's see. Oh, this is perfect. Right over here, guys. This closet is empty. A laughing group of older students emerged from behind the corner a moment later, dragging a young blonde girl despite her struggles. This'll teach you to act like such a freak, Loony. Alright, strip and toss her in. And no, please don't. Luna's pleas went unheeded, and moments later she found herself stuffed into a closet naked, with a locking charm securing the door from the outside. I tell you what, if we end up losing the house cup this year because of her, I am going to leave her in the closet over the summer. I hear you. Hopefully whatever is petrifying students finds her next. The others nodded and chuckled before departing for their next class, leaving a terrified and sobbing first-year student alone for more than a few hours before the spell wore off. Hermione Granger laid on her bed, staring up at the blank ceiling in her shared room, curtains drawn. If it had been a month ago, she would be reading a book, studying, or doing homework. Instead she was just staring, her mind wandering as she gently held a black handkerchief in her right hand, stroking it softly with her fingers. It was unlike anything she had even felt before, featherlight, warm when she was cold, cool when she was too hot. Even stranger though was how silky it felt, like it was made of the finest sheets she had even seen. It was comforting, as though she was connected to someone when she held it, almost as if she was holding his hand. Her thoughts drifted back to the mysterious boy. No, it was Mr. Rochester now, and the few minutes they had spent together. It couldn't have been more than 10, maybe 15 minutes at most, and yet it had been like a breath of fresh air when she had been stuck in a dusty, stagnant house for years. Now she couldn't get him out of her mind. When she slept she dreamed of him. Her daydreams were focused around him. A part of her, the rational side, was more than a little terrified at what was happening, at the obsession that was building inside of her. Yet the part that craved attention, that part that just wanted someone to care, craved to be near him, desired for him to look at her as something more than just some silly schoolgirl, that perhaps one day they could walk hand in hand together, perhaps even intimately. It was far too dangerous to continue accessing the chamber. The diary's host had almost been noticed during her last return, and if that happened the entire plan would be ruined. Thus the basilisk would simply be left to continue the attacks on its own, while the redhead would continue being drained of her essence. Tom Riddle, in temporary control of Ginny Weasley, made his way down the hallway towards an empty classroom. There he would relinquish control over the girl while giving her a few more mental suggestions. Another few weeks and the ritual could be completed. Just a few more weeks and... Hello, Miss Weasley. No. Voldemort's control vanished in an instant as the girl froze, her face turning bright red at the voice she had secretly learned to covet over the past few months called out from behind her. Harry Potter. Hello. A rather nice evening for a stroll, is it not? The boy inquired, as he casually walked up next to her. Why yes. Indeed, tell me, Miss Weasley, or may I call you Ginny? The girl's heart practically exploded in excitement, and it was all she could do to nod. Excellent, tell me, Ginny, are you feeling tired? Tired? I don't. His hand splayed out in front of her face, and the first year fell unconscious in an instant, with only the raven-haired boy's arm preventing her from collapsing forward onto the floor. With his free hand he reached out and took the book she had been cradling next to her chest. How very interesting. Want to read more exciting chapters? Then join my Patreon right now and get access to 60 plus premium chapters. Link, patreon.com/kittylovesmilk, remove the hashtag. Free members get 2 plus advanced chapters for free. Join now. Comment. 6 comment. Vote. Chapter 4. Draco Malfoy prided himself upon several things. First, he was an outstanding seeker. Just ask him, he would tell you for hours. Second, he was above average in all of his classes, and more than adequate in a duel. Third was the fact of his blood purity, although this fact was slowly becoming less important with time. Fourth was his lord's faith in his abilities, arguably the thing he was most proud of. Finally, he was experienced in the magical world, meaning that very little could cause him pause or shock at this point. Or so he thought, that is until Harry Potter, his lord and master, came walking into the Slytherin common rooms with a book in his left hand, and an unconscious Ginny Weasley thrown over his right shoulder like a sack of potatoes. Needless to say, this earned a silent confusion until someone gathered up the courage to make further inquiries. My lord. Yes, Blaze. You have a redhead on your shoulder. I am well aware, thank you. Why? Because carrying her bridal style might cause even more rumors, and dragging her on the ground seems a bit harsh. 4. Yes. What I think Blaze is trying to say, my lord, is that. Why? Are you carrying her around? The Malfoy heir inquired, earning a silent thanks from the dark-skinned boy. Because she is unconscious. I couldn't exactly leave the poor girl in the hallway now, could I? Imagine what horrors could have befallen her. Oh, of course. Now then, if you will excuse me, I need to begin extracting Miss Weasley's life force from the book so that she may recover from her attempted possession. With that, the raven-haired boy opened the secret passage to his personal quarters, which promptly closed behind him, leaving a stunned group of students staring in his wake. Wait, did he just say possession? A soft pop echoed through the living quarters of Harry Potter as a house elf appeared, wringing his hands and looking all around quite stressed. Dobby, I have been meaning to speak with you. Dobby knows Master Harry Potter. Dobby could feel it. I imagine so after your attempt to bond with me. The creature winced slightly at the slightly cold tone, and the fact that his plan had been discovered so easily. Oh, do not worry, Dobby, I am not going to punish you. Had you failed to be useful to me, then I might have, but with your information concerning the Weasleys, all will be forgiven. Dobby is happy, great Master Harry Potter, sir. Indeed, the boy resumed, pulling a haze of red mist from the diary and redirecting it back into the girl it had originally been stolen from. Dobby has more news, sir. Oh. Her brothers, the ones who prank, they have something of yours. Do they now? A map, sir. Interesting. Well, Dobby, congratulations, I believe you have proven yourself useful once more. I will make you a deal. Find out a bit more information on this map for me and I will release you from your servitude with the Malfoys and allow you to follow me instead. The elf's eyes widened excitedly, before he nodded and disappeared once more, leaving the teen to turn his focus back onto his guest. You and your family are becoming more interesting by the day, my dear. Good morning, my dear. Ginny Weasley sat up so fast that she practically passed out. Again. She was. Definitely. Not in her dorms, and wasn't in the hospital wing, which meant, her eyes widened as her head spun to face the boy seated next to the bed, a charming smile on his face which quickly caused her own to heat up in a blush. How are you feeling? I was becoming a bit worried that you would miss breakfast. It is the most important meal of the day. Aye. So you are hungry then? You must be. I doubt that the parasite fed you at all. I have taken the liberties of retrieving a few breakfast choices for you. Aye. For now, unfortunately, I must insist that you stay here, preferably in bed. There is a private bathroom behind me once you feel strong enough to move, but your life force was quite drained when I found you. Even after restoring it to you, I am afraid that you will need some recovery time before you can be up and moving for extended periods. I understand the need for privacy, but if you wish to bathe, I would encourage you to inform me first. I would hate for you to slip and fall with no one around to help you. The slight blush had become so severe after this train of thought that Ginny's face was closer to the color of her hair rather than its normal pale tone. I trust you have had breakfast in bed before? A marvelous Muggle tradition, I will admit. Do not worry about the Slytherins, they are not able to enter here without me, and I have warned them about attempting to do so. So for now, eat. Finally the younger girl managed to nod, before staring down at the tray that was set on her lap filled with food. How odd, brother of mine. Very odd indeed, my less attractive twin. Ha, that is not what your girlfriend said last night. Odd, because it is what yours said. The twins grinned at each other, before looking down to reread the note that they had found on their bunk bed in the Gryffindor dorm rooms. Devils of Gryffindor. I have something of great value to you. If you want it back, meet us in the Charms Corridor 2 days from now at 9 in the eve. Come alone. Curator and Curator Fred. Indeed, and I am George today. No. I am George. I told Angela that an hour ago and we have a date. Well, good luck with that, because she likes Fred more anyway. Want to read more exciting chapters? Then join my Patreon right now and get access to 60+ premium chapters. Link, patreon.com/kittylovesmilk, remove the hashtag. Free members get 2+ advanced chapters for free. Join now. Comment. 7 comment. Vote. Chapter 5. A sobbing Luna Lovegood lay curled up in a broom closet once more. Why couldn't they just leave her alone? Why did they have to hate her so much? Once more flashes of the future went through her mind like horrible nightmares, each one worse than the last. The newest was her sitting alone, in nothing but dirty ripped clothing, in what appeared to be her house. There she sat, for days on end, just staring at nothing in particular. There was no one in her life, and hadn't been for years prior to her father's death. There the older version of herself sat without moving, without blinking, the loneliness finally shattering her mind. Another whimper escaped the young girl's mouth. Why couldn't she have a happy future? Why did she have to suffer? Why couldn't someone just care? Harry. Yes, my dear? How are you feeling? Gee, good. Is something wrong? Are you hungry again? And no, could I, maybe, take a bath? Of course, you have been sitting in that bed for well over a day now and you probably haven't had time to bathe in longer than that. Considering you were returning from the Chamber of Secrets, I imagine you are feeling a bit filthy, yes. She nodded shyly, and waited for her caretaker to stand next to the bed while helping her stand, and then walk, across the room to the add-on lavatory. Once there he gently set her down before starting her water. Do not fret, my dear, once the water is to your liking I will go and fetch some towels while you disrobe and hide beneath the rather foamy bubbles that I have added. That will also give me time to change the bed sheets for you. As he turned to leave, a hand reached out and grabbed a hold of his cloak. Harry. Could you help me, you are not feeling quite up to strength yet. She nodded in shyly, before the boy helped her up and began to undress her. It was an odd feeling for the youngest Weasley, being stripped down in front of a boy she barely knew, despite the fact that he was keeping his eyes closed in respect. His hands were gentle, and yet there was a power and nimbleness to them that surprised the first year. A feeling of comfort and security surrounded her, even with something so demeaning. After all was said and done, she draped her arm across his shoulders, allowing him to aid her into the tub, where she stood for a moment. Now then, that towel. Why, yes please. When he returned, however, she was still standing, albeit bracing herself on a nearby wall. Oh, my apologies, my dear, he muttered, turning away instantly. I did not realize that. It's okay. I mean, you are doing all of this for me, and what the hell was she doing? Letting some boy look at her naked? And yet, there was a desire inside her that to see something in his eyes. A spark of enjoyment, a flash of lust. Approval. Just something that would tell her she was attractive, that she could be more than just a skinny little shy girl with no friends. And I want you to look. 3. The way his eyes raked over her form sent more than a few pleasant shivers through her body and to her core. You are very lovely, my dear, do not let anyone tell you otherwise. Thank you. Now into the water, you still need to get clean, if you don't I will be forced to wash you myself. The huskiness in his voice gave her a moment of doubt, that maybe she should take him up on his offer. Look who it is, Fred. Indeed, George, apparently the Lord of Slytherin has seen fit to attend an audience with us. Harry responded by extending his arm towards Draco, who reached into his pocket and placed a few galleons into the raven-haired boy's hand, grumbling the entire time. I am curious as to how you know such a thing, would you care to explain? Oh, forgive us. Oh, Slytherin Lord. We are but humble pranksters. Not worthy of your inquiries. Also, Pansy Parkinson is a gossip. Again the hand was extended, earning more grumbles from the blonde, who pulled out even more coins to give to the boy. Any chance you will explain to us why your Malfoy keeps giving you money? The Potter Lord grinned. We made a few wagers before coming here based on your reactions. Thus far Draco is losing, badly. Such freaking crap, said boy mumbled. So now that the introductions are done we can get down to business. What are you willing to give up for? Actually, we just showed up to tell you to bugger off. And also give you a going away present. Moments later a red dust dropped from the ceiling, covering the two Slytherins in what appeared to be a very Gryffindor shade of crimson. The two older boys burst into laughter, even to the extent of falling on the ground. Neither noticed that Draco had, reluctantly, pulled out yet another handful of coins to give to his lord. Well, Draco, it appears you were wrong. My apologies, my lord, I thought they would be a bit more mature than Ron. Harry shrugged, before turning to leave. It appears you were mistaken, they did not value their sister as much as we presumed. A pity. Well, regardless, she will simply. The boy who lived halted in his steps, a smirk appearing on his face as he turned towards the two older students who were now pointing wands at him. What did you do to Ginny? Ah, not as funny anymore, is it? Harry inquired, before extending his hand, and earning a groan of annoyance from Draco before handing over more galleons. Seriously, how the hell could you guess that? Simple, Draco, people are predictable. Perhaps I will use this to buy Miss Parkinson a Christmas gift. Do you think she would prefer jewelry or lingerie? Our sister? No. Now, no need to be rude. After all, as far as you know, hexing me might ensure that you never see her again. Reluctantly the two weapons were lowered, although neither boy appeared any less hostile. Let us try this again, shall we? What are you willing to give up for your sister's return? Fred gritted his teeth, biting back the response before George put a comforting hand on his brother's shoulder. What do you want, Potter? First and foremost, the map. I don't know what you are talking about. Harry's eyes narrowed in annoyance. I have not insulted your intelligence. Do not insult mine. I am well aware of the map you two carry that shows everyone in the castle. It is mine. And I want it returned. Who the hell says it is yours? The fact that Prongs was my father. Both boys' mouths dropped, before one reluctantly pulled it out and tossed it to the Slytherin. Now then, in return for your sister I want an oath from both of you. And what would that entail? George growled. That you will not prank or harass anyone below your school year. Harry was interrupted as Draco whispered something, earning a chuckle from the emerald-eyed boy. Exceptions can be made concerning family, of course. Feel free to prank Ron as much as you desire. Wait, that's it? Yes. You just want us to stop pranking? No, I could care less about those your year or older, they can defend themselves, but anyone younger than you is now to be exempt. Both redheads glanced at each other, before raising their wands and swearing the oath. Very good, Ginny, come here please. The shy girl stepped out from the shadows, before walking towards her brothers at Harry's slight gesture. She has mostly recovered from her ordeal, but I would still keep a close eye on her for the next month or so just in case. Possessed diaries are so very irritating to deal with. PP possession. Indeed, had I not intervened I fear she would be sapped of her life force within the next few weeks. Oh, and considering her involvement with the Chamber of Secrets I would highly suggest you keep this little incident to yourselves. If not she will either end up at St. Mungo's, which your family cannot afford to use for the time they will deem necessary, or Azkaban, which she will not survive. The two boys gulped, before nodding and gently leading their sister off. Neither noticed the way she looked back at her raven-haired savior, an expression of longing in her eyes as she watched him turn and leave. I don't get it, my lord, all of that just to get them to stop pranking? She was worth way more than that. Oh, I am fully aware, Draco, but she has already become infatuated with me, and now her brothers will feel that they owe me a favor as well. I have no need of anything they possess, Draco, at least not at the moment, but the debt that I can now call upon, that is something I might be able to use. Harry replied, already unveiling the map and studying it intently. So now what? The boy who lived chuckled. Now we need to address a small issue, before continuing upon my plans for this year. As the two entered the Slytherin Commons the various students stood, as was required when a lord entered the room, to show their allegiances. It has come to my attention that there are rumors going around Hogwarts, rumors about my position in this house. Now I thought I had informed everyone that this knowledge was to remain secret, but apparently I was not quite clear enough. Harry began, his eyes sweeping the room before landing on Pansy, who had started fidgeting. Is there something you wish to say, Miss Parkinson? The girl replied, before stepping forward and kneeling before him. I beg your forgiveness, my lord. I overstepped my boundaries and I wish to make amends for my error. Indeed, and how do you plan on doing that, Miss Parkinson? What skills do you have that could actually be of use to me? Your grades are nothing to be excited about, your family has little power, you possess no notable skills. I can. Yes. I don't know. The girl looked ready to break down in tears, while Harry took on a thoughtful posture. Perhaps, well, I am not sure if you would be able to. Pansy knew what was at stake. If she was exiled from his presence her life in Slytherin would become hell. Sure, some had not sworn loyalty, such as Daphne Greengrass, but those who had were expected to stay loyal. If she was discarded her very future, including marriage to Draco, would be in jeopardy. Anything. My lord, I will do. Anything you command. Very well, I want you to gather information on two individuals for me. As much as you can. Everything concerning their current studies, their pasts, their plans for the future, their personalities, friends, loved ones, families, hopes, dreams, fears, ambitions, well, you get the idea. Oh, of course, my lord. Good, the two in question are Luna Lovegood and Hermione Granger. My lord, with all due respect. One of the older Slytherins interrupted, looking a bit nervous to do so. Yes. Why? Them. I mean, Lovegood is an old pureblood name, but Granger, isn't she that Mew? Look. The older student received froze him in place. It was nigh impossible to get a read on Harry when he did no wish you to do so, that was why when his anger was obvious it was best to reassess your situation. 3. No, please continue. Clearly. You have something important to say. And no, my lord, nothing. Want to read more exciting chapters, then join my P*Patreon right now and get access to 60 plus premium chapters. Link, pa#Treon.com/kittylovesmilk, remove the hashtag. Free members get 2 plus advanced chapters for free. Join now. Comment. 7. Comment. Vote. Chapter 6. You are sure? I want to emphasize that I am open to all suggestions and critiques. If you have one, do not be afraid to speak up. And no, of course not. I was merely missing the bigger picture, forgive me. Of course, of course. Now then, do you have any questions, Miss Parkinson? Oh, only one, my lord. How long do I have to accomplish your redemption? I do not think we need to set a definitive date, however I do not wish to seem too forgiving or weak with my compassion, so let us make it a bit interesting, shall we? The boy's hand extended, his fingers brushing against her forehead before the girl cried out and nearly crumpled onto the ground, her body shaking as it did so. This will persist until I deem it necessary to give you the key to your release. Should you be unable to cope, then perhaps I was wrong, and you are not needed. IIIW will SS succeed MIL Lord. Good, I anxiously await your results. With that the boy departed, and Pansy slowly rose before struggling off to her room, thus missing the whispers from the common room. What the hell did he do to her? Beats me, but I sure as heck don't want to be subject to it. My lord. Ah Draco, please come in, you wanted to speak with me. Indeed my lord, it is about Pansy. Miss Parkinson? Oh I do so hope she has not caved already. No, no of course not, it is just, if she fails my lord, if you cast her out. Oh do not worry Draco, even if she fails I am sure that I could find some use for her, even if it is on her back being used for as a sex toy. 1. The blonde let out a rather shocked sound, his jaw almost dropping in the process. Oh relax Draco, I was merely kidding, I would not use your fiancée in such a way. The whisper was almost missed by the raven-haired boy, but he still caught it in the silent room. Why not? Pardon? Why wouldn't you use her? I mean it is your right to do so, she swore loyalty to you, she is attractive. 4. Harry stared at the boy for a moment, before gesturing towards a chair across from him to be taken. Draco, let me tell you a story. A very long time ago in a distant land there lived a powerful and ruthless king. Now he held domain over all he surveyed and all swore loyalty to him, but the man was a terrible monster and often sought that which he could not have. One day the king spied a lovely woman working in the castle and demanded that she join him in his bed. The girl pleaded for him to reconsider, for she was betrothed to another servant and wanted to save herself for their wedding night, yet the king would not be swayed from his lust and the girl was forced to do so under penalty of death for her true love. Now when the other man heard of this he grew angry, and yet the king did not fear, for he was powerful and commanded armies of unending loyalty to him. Surely this kitchen hand was nothing compared to him, correct? The emerald-eyed boy paused, ensuring that his friend was keeping up before continuing on. However, one day while the king was dining he found himself unable to breathe, and despite the best efforts of the nearby guards he collapsed at the table while he drowned in his own fluids in a horrific manner. Apparently the young man, whose bride he had forced, worked as a drink server and had slipped poison into the king's evening wine. 1. Piercing eyes focused in on the Malfoy heir, who gulped and nodded that he was still listening. The moral of the story, Draco, is that no matter how powerful you are, no matter how feared or loved you may be, all of us bow to death. Even the most mighty king can be brought down by a slave should he not take care in what he covets. Do you understand this lesson, Draco? I do my lord, and I shall take heed of it. But with all due respect I do not think it applies here. Oh? Enlighten me then, why is it you believe this? Because my lord, in magical society those we declare to be our lord we value above all things. For such a person to show an interest in a servant in any way is an incredible boon upon them. For a lord to approach, or even bed, the wife, husband, or betrothed of a servant is one of the highest honors known in our world. Silence reigned for a few minutes, as the blonde Slytherin feared he had somehow upset his master, before the other boy spoke. It is an honor. Is it, Draco? Why yes. So you would feel honored if I took Pansy to my chambers, if I forced her onto her knees to please me. I assure you my lord, no force would be necessary. She would be more than willing to. You would feel no rage if I brought her in right now and fucked her on this table right in front of you. If I took her virginity while you watched. If I demanded she use her mouth to service me. The blonde boy was blushing now, and Harry felt the spark of desire in the Malfoy air as if the thoughts truly were appeasing to him. I would feel no anger my lord, I promise you. I was the one who suggested the photos she sent last Christmas. 7. Interesting. Pansy Parkinson was suffering, sure she knew that there would be more to her redemption than just getting information on 2 classmates, but this. She hadn't been able to sleep the previous night, all due to the stipulation, and could barely focus in class. Despite her own claims she had, in fact, tried several cures, all of which failed. Then she had gone with the simplest solution of all, it had only made it worse. Thus she was stuck sitting in potions class, trying to pay attention to the ingredients in front of her while rubbing her thighs together as discreetly as possible. It had not been pain that was forced upon her, as so many assumed. It was pleasure, mind-numbing, earth-shaking, knicker-ruining pleasure. Now that in of itself would not have been bad, in fact she would have broken her lord's rules more often if that was the case, but the fact that despite the lust and stimulation surging through her veins she could not find release. 1. Her orgasm was being held hostage, and she could not fall into that sweet oblivion until her task was complete. Merlin. It was driving her insane. She could feel it, so close that it was practically visible but never quite within reach. Like the most beautiful dress ever conceived being displayed behind a glass window that could not be broken, and just like a dress she wanted it, needed it, desired it. Why couldn't her repayment have been something simpler? She would have gladly offered herself to Harry in any way he could desire. She wouldn't have given it a second thought, and she did not doubt that Draco would have encouraged her, probably even would have asked for details afterwards. But that was not the case, and thus her suffering continued as her mind attempted to come up with a plan to get information on Granger or Lovegood. Sure, there was no deadline for her salvation, but she was positive that she would not be able to last more than another day or two. At most. Before she went insane. Want to read more exciting chapters? Then join my Patreon right now and get access to 60 plus premium chapters. Link, patreon.com/kittylovesmilk, remove the hashtag. Free members get 2 plus advanced chapters for free. Join now. Comment. 6 comment. Vote. Chapter 7. You are sure? I want to emphasize that I am open to all suggestions and critiques. If you have one, do not be afraid to speak up. And no, of course not. I was merely missing the bigger picture, forgive me. Of course, of course. Now then, do you have any questions, Miss Parkinson? Oh, only one, my lord. How long do I have to accomplish your redemption? I do not think we need to set a definitive date, however I do not wish to seem too forgiving or weak with my compassion, so let us make it a bit interesting, shall we? The boy's hand extended, his fingers brushing against her forehead before the girl cried out and nearly crumpled onto the ground, her body shaking as it did so. This will persist until I deem it necessary to give you the key to your release. Should you be unable to cope, then perhaps I was wrong, and you are not needed. Will succeed, my lord. Good, I anxiously await your results. With that the boy departed, and Pansy slowly rose before struggling off to her room, thus missing the whispers from the common room. What the hell did he do to her? Beats me, but I sure as heck don't want to be subject to it. My lord. Ah, Draco, please come in, you wanted to speak with me. Indeed, my lord, it is about Pansy. Miss Parkinson? Oh, I do so hope she has not caved already. No, no, of course not. It is just, if she fails, my lord, if you cast her out. Oh, do not worry, Draco, even if she fails I am sure that I could find some use for her, even if it is on her back being used for as a sex toy. 1. The blonde let out a rather shocked sound, his jaw almost dropping in the process. Oh, relax, Draco, I was merely kidding, I would not use your fiancée in such a way. The whisper was almost missed by the raven-haired boy, but he still caught it in the silent room. Why not? Pardon? Why wouldn't you use her? I mean, it is your right to do so. She swore loyalty to you, she is attractive. 4. Harry stared at the boy for a moment, before gesturing towards a chair across from him to be taken. Draco, let me tell you a story. A very long time ago in a distant land there lived a powerful and ruthless king. Now he held domain over all he surveyed and all swore loyalty to him, but the man was a terrible monster and often sought that which he could not have. One day the king spied a lovely woman working in the castle and demanded that she join him in his bed. The girl pleaded for him to reconsider, for she was betrothed to another servant and wanted to save herself for their wedding night, yet the king would not be swayed from his lust and the girl was forced to do so under penalty of death for her true love. Now when the other man heard of this he grew angry, and yet the king did not fear, for he was powerful and commanded armies of unending loyalty to him. Surely this kitchen hand was nothing compared to him, correct? The emerald-eyed boy paused, ensuring that his friend was keeping up before continuing on. However, one day while the king was dining he found himself unable to breathe, and despite the best efforts of the nearby guards he collapsed at the table while he drowned in his own fluids in a horrific manner. Apparently the young man, whose bride he had forced, worked as a drink server and had slipped poison into the king's evening wine. 1. Piercing eyes focused in on the Malfoy heir, who gulped and nodded that he was still listening. The moral of the story, Draco, is that no matter how powerful you are, no matter how feared or loved you may be, all of us bow to death. Even the most mighty king can be brought down by a slave should he not take care in what he covets. Do you understand this lesson, Draco? I do, my lord, and I shall take heed of it. But with all due respect I do not think it applies here. Oh. Enlighten me then, why is it you believe this? Because, my lord, in magical society those we declare to be our lord we value above all things. For such a person to show an interest in a servant in any way is an incredible boon upon them. For a lord to approach, or even bed, the wife, husband, or betrothed of a servant is one of the highest honors known in our world. Silence reigned for a few minutes, as the blonde Slytherin feared he had somehow upset his master, before the other boy spoke. It is an honor. Is it, Draco? Why, yes. So you would feel honored if I took Pansy to my chambers, if I forced her onto her knees to please me. I assure you, my lord, no force would be necessary. She would be more than willing to. You would feel no rage if I brought her in right now and fucked her on this table right in front of you. If I took her virginity while you watched. If I demanded she use her mouth to service me. The blonde boy was blushing now, and Harry felt the spark of desire in the Malfoy air as if the thoughts truly were appeasing to him. I would feel no anger, my lord, I promise you. I was the one who suggested the photos she sent last Christmas. 7. Interesting. Pansy Parkinson was suffering, sure she knew that there would be more to her redemption than just getting information on 2 classmates, but this. She hadn't been able to sleep the previous night, all due to the stipulation, and could barely focus in class. Despite her own claims she had, in fact, tried several cures, all of which failed. Then she had gone with the simplest solution of all, It had only made it worse. Thus she was stuck sitting in potions class, trying to pay attention to the ingredients in front of her while rubbing her thighs together as discreetly as possible. It had not been pain that was forced upon her, as so many assumed. It was pleasure, mind-numbing, earth-shaking, knicker-ruining pleasure. Now that in of itself would not have been bad, in fact she would have broken her lord's rules more often if that was the case, but the fact that despite the lust and stimulation surging through her veins she could not find release. 1. Her orgasm was being held hostage, and she could not fall into that sweet oblivion until her task was complete. Merlin. It was driving her insane. She could feel it, so close that it was practically visible but never quite within reach. Like the most beautiful dress ever conceived being displayed behind a glass window that could not be broken, and just like a dress she wanted it, needed it, desired it. Why couldn't her repayment have been something simpler? She would have gladly offered herself to Harry in any way he could desire. She wouldn't have given it a second thought, and she did not doubt that Draco would have encouraged her, probably even would have asked for details afterwards. But that was not the case, and thus her suffering continued as her mind attempted to come up with a plan to get information on Granger or Lovegood. Sure, there was no deadline for her salvation, but she was positive that she would not be able to last more than another day or two, at most, before she went insane. Want to read more exciting chapters? Then join my Patreon right now and get access to 60+ premium chapters. Link, #Patreon.com/kittylovesmilk, remove the hashtag. Free members get 2+ advanced chapters for free. Join now. Comment. 6. Comment. Vote. Chapter 8. Hermione Granger had a secret, one that she kept from, well, it didn't really matter because no one seemed to give two craps about her at Hogwarts. McGonagall appeared more than a little annoyed every time she raised her hand in class, and Gryffindors either ignored or taunted her whenever they crossed paths. The young bookworm was beginning to look forward to being verbally abused. Not because she enjoyed it, in fact she had begun to hate and despise those who continually insulted her for simply enjoying school, but rather the fact that a pattern was beginning to emerge. She would be beaten down emotionally, flee to a nearby bathroom, and then if it was empty there would be a knock on her stall door. Her mysterious companion would then talk to her about her day, inquire about her studies, even provide hints about how to better perform in class. But it was simply the fact that he cared about her that made the most impact. There was no falsehoods in his voice, no sarcasm like so many others, no annoyed sighs or groans when she would go on a rant. Just silent, and at times audible, acknowledgement of her existence. Then there was the small article of black cloth that she kept with her at all times. Whenever she couldn't escape, whenever she wasn't able to find the isolation she needed, the young Gryffindor would gently clasp it in her hand, rubbing her fingers over the silky structure until she calmed. The obsession was growing with her social isolation, and Hermione knew it. She could see the signs clear as day in herself, but she just could not find the will to care. No one else would spend time with her, no one else would give her so much as a second glance unless it was to help get house points or to steal an answer for a test or homework. At this point even the logical portion of her mind, the part that was originally terrified by the changes in herself, was beginning to agree with the idea of seeking out this acceptance. If she didn't, if she ignored it and continued on her own, she had little doubt that she would become part of the statistic. 1 in 5 Muggle-born students committed suicide a year after graduation. Although the wizarding world knew about this, they cared little for solving the problem, the social isolation that the society itself caused. Hermione Granger was determined not to fall into this, and any time she felt the creeping depression she would find a moment to either contact her benefactor, or take a hold of his gift and fight the feeling away. The only things that worried her now were in the future. What if the man found he no longer wished to spend time with her, and what would she do during the summer, when she could no longer reach him? My lord. Ah, Miss Parkinson, how are you today? The gleam in his eyes made the girl want to either punch him, or tear his pants off and mount him in the common room. GG good my lord. I have this. Oh. You are finished with your task already? Well, that was sooner than I thought. Well done. The boy took 2 offered vanilla folders before slowly going through their contents. Pansy was practically sobbing. At this point, she just wanted it to end. To be able to sleep. Very well done, Pansy. I do believe that this makes up for your indiscretion. Thank you, my lord. He nodded, before going back to the information, leaving her panting in front of him. Luckily the room was empty, save for Draco, Harry, and herself, everyone else having left at his slight gesture. Is there anything else, Pansy? Please. Please what? Please, let me. Oh yes, how silly of me to forget. The key to your release and all that, well, it is a rather interesting puzzle if I do say so myself, so you had best pay attention to figure it out. The girl whimpered, but nodded. The spell cannot be undone by the one who suffers from it, as you have undoubtedly noted. Instead you must use another person to bring yourself to fruition. Do that and... All she heard was another person before reaching out and grabbing the wrist of her lord, and jamming his hand, along with her own, into her pants. Ecstasy, and relief, shot through her body less than a minute later, resulting in a scream ripping through her throat before she slumped forward onto his lap, passing out in the process. Perhaps I overdid it a bit. I was going to say that your fiancé was sitting over there, but... Glancing over, Harry's eyebrow quirked up when he realized that Draco was shifting a bit uncomfortably as well, at the sight of his betrothed using their lord in such a way. Well, I suppose that means you will not be taking her back to her dorm room. MIA apologies, my lord. A sigh broke his lips, before Harry chuckled. This time he did pick the girl up bridal style before carrying her to her own bed, much to the puzzlement of the other girls in the dorm. So my lord, are you going to inform us as to why you wanted the information on Granger and Lovegood? I mean, I suppose they are somewhat attractive, but... Ah, Draco, I am glad that you are only in your second year. Thank you. Why is that? Because I have plans for you, Draco, and if you were this short-sighted while being considerably older, then I would be worried. The Malfoy flushed red with embarrassment as the small group of Slytherins made their way down a nearly abandoned corridor. Better yet, my lord, Pansy practically heard as she inched just slightly closer to the raven-haired boy. Why are we in this hallway? Because the next part of my plan is in this hallway, Pansy. With that, the boy stopped in front of a closet, before dispelling the multitude of charms on the door and opening it. Inside, with her knees pulled up to her chest, was a sobbing, naked, young blonde girl. Ahem. Millicent growled out, glaring at the other boys who promptly looked away. Miss Lovegood. The girl sobbing halted, before she looked up, with eyes full of confusion and fear at the boy standing above her. It appears as though you could use some aid. Her eyes widened even further, before a spark of something, hope perhaps, appeared within. Slowly she began to rise, keeping her arms positioned in such a way that it covered her modesty, until she stood in front of the boy. Her eyes glanced towards the other two girls as a blush appeared on her face, her legs shifting slightly with discomfort. Pansy, Millie, leave. The two girls did as ordered, his tone allowing rebuttal, leaving the two alone. As he slipped off his outer cloak, the young Lovegood's face lit up with a thankfulness he had not beheld in years, and she graciously accepted the clothing that was slid around her shoulder to cover her from any further sight. The moment it touched her skin, however, she gasped in shock. It was something else. It felt smoother than silk as it practically melded to her body, dancing across her skin like the caress of a lover. It was warm, almost like a small heater, and brought a comfort to her skin and her heart as it molded around her body to protect her. Like being hugged and protected all at the same time. Keep it, my dear, and know that should you ever need a friend, you have one in Slytherin. Want to read more exciting chapters? Then join my P*Patreon right now and get access to 60+ premium chapters. Link, #Patreon.com/kittylovesmilk, remove the hashtag. Free members get 2+ advanced chapters for free. Join now. Comment. 3. Comment. Vote. Chapter 9. Memories. That was all she had of the time she had spent with her savior. Memories of his presence, and a certain emptiness that came with them. It was as if she had found something that she had lacked, found a missing part of herself that nothing else had ever come close to replacing, and then had been forced to leave it behind. Ginny Weasley let out a deep sigh as she stared at her schoolwork. 2 hours had passed and she had barely managed a single inch of writing for the essay that would be due in a week. At first she thought that her inability to concentrate was linked with Tom. That perhaps whatever he had done to her, Harry had mentioned draining her life force, had also caused mental problems as well. Even her brothers seemed to be convinced of that when she had hinted at having issues. But deep down she knew the truth. It had nothing to do with demonic book, instead her thoughts simply focused around a certain emerald-eyed boy, and the way he took care of her, comforted her, and looked at her. Well, look who it is, Loony Luna, and I heard you were seen palling around with Slytherins. What, are you such a loser? Then you need to associate with the snakes in order to find friends. They won't accept you. No one will ever accept you. You are a freak and a loser, the older Ravenclaw taunted as he stepped into the young blonde's face, forcing her to step away in the process as he slowly backed her into a wall. Moments later a group of Slytherins, including Harry, entered the corridor, and the raven-haired boy's eyes narrowed in annoyance. Something wrong here. Bugger off, Potter, this is Ravenclaw business. Not yours. Oh, but it appears as though it has become mine as well, especially since you continue to taunt a friend of mine. So it is true then, Loony here really has lost whatever was left of her pathetic mind if she is friends with a freak like you. 1. The area grew deathly quiet, as the younger children put just a little more distance between themselves and the older Ravenclaw, who seemed to have a death wish. They had all seen their lord angry before, and none wished to be around the target of his wrath when it struck. For Draco Malfoy, however, he was wondering how he had never noticed it before. Perhaps at the time he thought it was a trick of the mind, the way that the light seemed to flicker, how the room grew just a little darker. 1. Now though, there was no doubt that it was not an illusion. The blonde watched in terror as the shadows crept across the floor, as if slowly reaching out for their fellow classmate. What would happen if they reached him? Would he be torn asunder? Ripped into bloody pieces? Mutilated in ways that no human ever should be? Watcher Harry, fancy seeing you here. The effect reversed itself in an instant, and Harry's smiling face turned to face the Auror. Well, hello Miss Tonks, and how are you today? He truly was the perfect Slytherin. Can't complain too much, the woman said with a slight blush at the attention she was receiving. Is anything wrong here? I thought I heard someone making a few idle threats. No, nothing like that, you must have misheard us, the Ravenclaw boy quickly replied, earning a slightly feral grin from the metamorphagus. Good, well you better be off to class. No sense in getting her wandering about, right? Why yet? With the older student gone, the Potter Lord gave a slight gesture towards the younger girl to accompany them. Would you like to walk with us to your next class, Miss Lovegood? As Miss Tonks stated, it really is not safe to be walking alone. The shy nod from the girl was the only thing needed to answer, as Luna joined up with the group of Slytherins. Did you see that? No, Draco, I didn't. See the shadows? Literally. Moving across the floor like a living breathing monster about to murder some poor bastard right in front of us. Shut it, Blaze, how the hell did he do it though? I mean, I have heard about magically created shadows and darkness, but nothing like that. Luna Lovegood had always been considered an oddity, whether it was by her friends, family, or classmates. The way she stared off into the distance, her eyes unfocused as if seeing what was beyond the horizon. The truth was that the young blonde was a seer, an individual who could view the future. This led to a very horrible truth to the young girl: her futures were always terrible. She would emerge horrified, completely covered in sweat from a vision of herself being torn apart by monsters while on a trip with her father, or utterly abandoned in the wilderness to eventually starve. So she started to develop survival skills, hone a few magical spells that might save her life, and the visions changed. She would survive until adulthood in these, but would be utterly alone, her mind wasting away from a lack of social contact after graduation. It wasn't that surprising really, she had never really fit in anywhere, never had any friends, except for Ginny, and could barely even find one of her housemates to have a normal conversation with. Even worse was when she had been sorted into a different house as her friend, further isolating her to the point of having little to no social activity outside of being bullied by her fellow Ravenclaws. When she had mentioned this to her head of house, he had merely dismissed the idea, stating that she must have been exaggerating or imagining the abuse. 4. It seemed as though she was doomed to a miserable existence for however long it might last, that is until one fateful day when she had been stripped down and shoved into a closet. Now that in itself wasn't terribly strange, it had already occurred twice before that, but then the most unusual of things followed. The door opened. There, standing like a king of old, was a raven-haired boy cloaked in darkness and power. Luna, of course, recognized the most famous teenager alive, but was startled when he told his followers to leave them. For a split second fear ran through her body. What would he do with her? Harm her? Take advantage of her undressed state too? He diverted his gaze and handed her his cloak. A simple act of kindness, one that changed her world in more ways than either realized. For the following night, when her dreams were normally filled with horrific visions, instead there was peace. She saw herself happy. For the first time ever in a dream. She saw children, a husband who cared about her, sister wives, a family that supported her no matter what. Peace. 5. Most telling of all though was the fact that her husband had beautiful green eyes, the same ones that had rescued her that previous day. 1. Want to read more exciting chapters? Then join my Patreon right now and get access to 60 plus premium chapters. Link, #Patreon.com/kittylovesmilk, remove the hashtag. Free members get 2 plus advanced chapters for free. Join now. Comment. 6. Comment. Vote. Chapter 10. Hermione Granger stared down at the letter that had just been returned via her owl. She had already read it several times, and after the first had refused to touch it, almost as if it burned her very skin. Hermione. Your father and I will be out of town for the winter holidays, hope you can stay busy at school. Remember to do your best, we expect nothing less. Mom. The bushy-haired witch had never been away from home at Christmas, and yet this year she was basically being abandoned by her own parents. Wiping the tears from her eyes, she quickly departed from Gryffindor Tower, before wandering through the halls aimlessly for what felt like hours. Most of her classmates had already departed, and indeed it felt as though the castle was practically empty at this point. Was this what her future would be? She had always pictured herself as a teacher while growing up, and if that were the case, then she would undoubtedly be spending the holidays at Hogwarts just like now. After all, she didn't have anyone else to spend them with. The only small joy she could find was the fact that most of her tormentors were also gone, but that meant that her personal savior, and only friend, was most likely home as well. The young girl suddenly stopped, and pushed open the door next to her, conveniently a girl's bathroom, before making her way to the first stall and locking herself in. This time she wasn't crying, wasn't trying to hide from bullies or insults, she was just lonely. What was she going to do if it was barely a day into a week of empty hallways and silence? What would her life be like if... Good day, my dear heir, how are you on our first official day of the break? The young girl fought the urge to sob in relief and happiness. I have been better, my parents. Your parents, he encouraged in a friendly tone that she had grown to love. They went on vacation without me. This will be my first Christmas without seeing them. I see, and this upsets you because it has become a comforting tradition, yes? Yes, it is, or was, I suppose. Well then, I suppose this means you will need to make new Traditions. I guess so, but I don't even know how to do that, and what happens during the summer. What happens if I get home and there is just a note telling me they left? What happens if I am left alone all summer? What happens if I... The panic was evident in her voice, her tone rising as fear mixed in. My dear, calm yourself. I will not allow you to be left alone. Should the worst happen and they do abandon you, I will come for you. Hermione wanted to laugh, whether due to the ridiculousness of his statement or the relief she felt in that moment she wasn't quite sure. How? You don't even know who I am. Oh my dear, do you truly believe that would stop me? Although it would become a bit awkward with the sleeping arrangement seeing as I have only one bed. For the briefest of moments the bookworm's imagination ran rampant. How would it feel waking up next to someone under the covers? Would they be wrapped around her in a protective manner? Would she have her head on his chest, feeling his heartbeat? What would they be wearing, if anything at all? 1. So Ginny, how has school been this year? Fine. The girl replied, her focus elsewhere as she played with the food on her plate. Why couldn't she get a certain raven-haired boy out of her mind? Sure, he had saved her, restored her life and ensured her freedom, had protected her family, and even fed her while she recovered, but... Ginny. Did you say something? Arthur's smile dropped a bit in concern for his daughter. I asked if you made any friends. Oh, yeah, a few I guess. Anyone you plan on seeing over the break? I think they are staying at school. Molly tsked at the thought, staying at school, poor dears should be with family during this time of year, not in some dusty old castle by themselves. So Ginny, any boys catch your attention? Bill teased from further down the table, earning a squeak and blush from the girl. Meanwhile the twins glanced over at each other in concern. They noticed that their sister had been acting fairly strange lately, but had attributed it to the incident. Perhaps the few days she had been with the Slytherin Lord had influenced her more than they thought. Aha, so who is the lucky prat? Anyone I need to rough up or? No. The room fell silent, as everyone stared at the young girl, whose eyes were wide with a combination of fear and something else. I mean, of course not. Even if I did. Like a boy, if you beat him up then everyone would be afraid to approach me. It is hard enough making friends right now. Thash kosh you don do girl stuff, Ron mumbled, his mouth so full of food that few could understand him. I do. Girl is stuff, Ron, just because I don't wear makeup, paint my nails, and gossip doesn't mean anything. Besides, he said I was lovely anyway. This time she clamped her mouth down so hard her teeth rattled. So Bill was right, our little Ginny has an admirer. Charlie exclaimed with glee. So who is it, dear? Is he nice? Does he treat you right? Do you two hold hands? Molly began. He is. What the hell was she supposed to say? That she had a weird, pseudo-one-sided relationship with a boy who had saved her from a near-death situation, nursed her back to health, and had seen her naked? Oh yes, that would go over well. Well, come on Gin, tell us more about this mysterious boy you have your eyes on. Arthur teased gently. He is in Slytherin. The room instantly went silent, as the girl's face turned even more red than before. Perhaps that wasn't the best fact to lead with. What? You can't like a snake. They are evil. Oh Ronald, hush, that is absolutely ridiculous. Your mother is right, Ron. I knew quite a few Slytherins when I was in school and most of them were very nice. Sure, there are a few bad apples with people like Lucius Malfoy, but overall they are just like any other house, except they get a bad reputation. Because they earned it. Ronikins. Shut up. Before you say something even more stupid about things you do not understand. The family turned to the twins, who were practically giving their youngest brother a death glare at that moment. Something you boys want to share? Percy inquired, using his best adult tone to try and mimic his father. We sort of know who Ginny is interested in. The girl's eyes widened with a slight amount of fear, before a hand gently clasped her under the table from George, giving it a comforting squeeze. As surprising as it sounds, we approve of the boy. He seems to care about her. Nursed her back from a cold, we hear. Kept the other Slytherins away from her. Even told us off about pranking younger students. Well, anyone who can stand up to the devils of Gryffindor and convince them to stop pranking gets points in my book. Bill chimed in with a grin, and a wink towards his sister. Indeed, and it sounds like he is very kind if he took care of you, dear. Hopefully we can meet him in the summer. Yeah Mom, hopefully. Want to read more exciting chapters? Then join my Patreon right now and get access to 60+ premium chapters. Link, patreon.com/kittylovesmilk, remove the hashtag. Free members get 2+ advanced chapters for free. Join now. Comment. For comment. Vote. Chapter 11. My lord. Yes, Draco. You have a stalker. The emerald-eyed boy chuckled, before glancing back into the hallway, only to catch a glimpse of blonde hair as the girl darted behind a suit of armor. Harry paused for a few moments, waiting patiently until the young Lovegood glanced out from behind her barricade to see she had been spotted. Miss Lovegood. Luna. Luna, then, you do not need to hide from me, you know. I know. The, surprisingly timid, girl stepped out into the hallways completely, her head down in slight embarrassment. I did not think you to be the shy one. I. I'm not, but you are a lord, and I am just me. His laughter echoed through the hallway, causing flames to flicker ever so slightly. I find you to be rather intriguing, my dear. Why don't you come and closer and talk to me? She nodded slightly, before quickly walking up to his left side, while Draco still stood at his right. See? There is nothing to fear while you walk with me, my dear. Her grin was like the morning sunrise. Now then, we truly must do something about your living conditions. I find it rather offensive that a friend of mine is. I'll just sleep with you. Luna cheerfully declared, earning a round of awkward coughing from the Slytherins that walked alongside them. Oh? So sure all of a sudden are you? Of course, my lord. You are the king, which makes me the princess for you to ravage. 6. The coughing was even louder than before. I don't like her. Harry Potter rolled his eyes at his oldest companion's comment. I do believe we have had a similar discussion about how you do not seem to like anyone. She is different. I don't trust her. Luna is harmless. That isn't the point. She is sleeping in your bed with you, and indeed she had been. For the past week the young girl had been meeting up with the remaining Potter in the evening before simply following him to his chamber where she slept in his bed. It had been fairly easy for this to go unnoticed with the holidays in full swing and many students back at their homes. You have done that before as well if you recall. Yes, but it is different. Oh. Yes. I want you to get rid of her. Well, I rather enjoy waking up next to someone so. Hedwig summoned up her courage, and ignored the uneasy feeling in her stomach that was warning her about her present course of action, before pushing forward. Get rid of her, Harry, now. Before the amber eyes could even blink she found herself pushed up against a wall, a hand around her throat while two blazing green eyes glared into her own. 1. I tolerate far more from you than anyone else, Hedwig, but do not assume you can give me orders. Do I make myself clear? Without waiting for an answer he released the girl, before turning and walking back towards his bed. As I said before, I enjoy waking up next to someone. You never even bothered to give me an answer after our last encounter earlier this year, so I fail to see why this is any of your concern now. The white-haired girl picked herself up from where she had dropped, before slowly moving towards him. He was right, as he almost always was. She had avoided the topic ever since that night months ago, avoided looking at him, avoided being close to him. A few nimble moves and her dress pooled around her feet as she moved forward towards the boy she had fallen in love with years prior. My lord. He turned, his eyes widening just slightly as his gaze focused in on her eyes. You looked at Ginny, you would look at Luna if she asked, but you will not look at me when I present myself. They did not abandon me the last time that I did. Hedwig winced as if struck. It had been a year prior to Hogwarts. He had walked in on her while she was stepping from the shower and seen a few glimpses of flesh. Although he had simply ignored the incident, it was a rude awakening for the amber-eyed girl, who promptly fled in her owl form on a mission to gather her thoughts and figure out her own feelings. It had taken her 4 months, and when she had finally returned he hadn't shouted at her, had not screamed in rage or tortured her. Instead he had ignored her. For over a week he had not spared her so much as a glance or a word of acknowledgement. She had avoided him for 4 months, he had done the same for only a week, and she had become desperate for his attention. Returning to the current situation, Hedwig nodded sadly. Yes. I did, and I am sorry. I was confused at the time, the feelings that were coursing through my veins, they were not proper for me to feel towards someone so young. And what are those feelings now? You know my policy on this, Hedwig, I have told you it before. Once you give yourself to me, you are mine. The girl laughed, almost sadly in a way. My lord. I have always been yours. I just refused to say it until now, refused to give in until now. And now. She walked to his left, before sitting on the bed, clad in nothing but her own skin. As you said. I am yours. I do not want a sex toy from you, Hedwig, others there will be but not you. I am not interested if you are simply going to lay there and. Her hand took his a moment later, before she pulled him into the same situation they had been in before, with him standing between her legs. I assure you. I am not going to lay here and do nothing. She whispered, before sliding her hand down into his boxers and grasping him gently. Want to read more exciting chapters? Then join my Patreon right now and get access to 60+ premium chapters. Link, #Patreon.com/kittylovesmilk, remove the hashtag. Free members get 2+ advanced chapters for free. Join now. Comment. To comment. Vote. Chapter 12. Albus Dumbledore awoke Christmas morning to find a usual pile of gifts placed in his office. With a chuckle, and the slight shaking of his head, he began his early morning routine before sitting down to address the wrapped presents. Co-workers would give him clothing or various oddities that he would find enjoyable. Politicians would send bribes of money or objects of great value, which would usually be donated to charities. Just as he was about to open one from the Weasley family, a hand-knit sweater he suspected, his gaze fell upon a package addressed from a certain student. To Headmaster Albus Dumbledore. I was unsure what you might enjoy for the holidays, so I went with something I have often seen you enjoy during our visits. Please enjoy responsibly. Harry Potter. After carefully opening the package, Albus' eyes shone with glee. It was a rather large-sized container of assorted Muggle candies. 1. To my favorite aura. May it keep you warm on these cold days. Harry. P.S. If you are ever feeling lonely, feel free to stop by the Slytherin common room. Tonks shook her head with a laugh, before unwrapping the rather large fur-lined coat. More than a few times she had made her patrols outside of the castle, and this promised to be quite useful for those awful occasions. It was rather amusing to, once again, have a massive pile of gifts waiting for him in the common room. Hedwig's had been delivered the previous night while Luna was trying to think up something different since her original plan had been shot down. 1. With a gentle sigh the boy set about his task. Draco's had been a rather large piece of parchment with dozens of designs on them, further noting that when he found one that he enjoyed, the Malfoy heir would have it emblazoned on any future clothing as his official seal. Blaise and Nott had both gone with various clothing or books, along with the remainder of those who didn't know him as well. Neville's gift had been a rather old framed document, one specifying an alliance between the House of Longbottom and the House of Potter from centuries prior. Pansy had gotten him something much like the previous year, except for the fact that instead of just one mildly scandalous picture it was more than a dozen, and they were all quite revealing. Aurora Sinistra had given him a book on stargazing, with a note to visit her sometime. Surprisingly, Tonks had even purchased a small bag of candy for him. Finally, Dumbledore had sent him a book on the Potter family and their history. Merry Christmas, Hermione. The bushy-haired girl whispered to herself as she sat in an empty classroom. Originally it had been the girls' dorm, but Lavender Brown had been there, and quite frankly she was tired of listening to the girl swoon over Ron Weasley. She had gone down to their common rooms next, hoping that she could simply read in silence, but even there the bookworm found no solace, as a few nasty remarks from Dean and Seamus, two of Ron's friends, had her wanting to leave almost immediately. Thus she sat alone. Once again, but this time it was different. There were no gifts to open, no songs being sung nearby, it was just empty. The witch fought back the tears that threatened to pour from her eyes. The would not cry over something so silly. Perhaps she could go to the library and find a few books to read there? Turning to leave she froze in place. There before her was a single package wrapped in colorful paper, like the ones her parents would always give her. But how? She hadn't left the room, and no one had entered. The choice of area had been a last-minute one. Glancing around to ensure she was alone, and not crazy, the Gryffindor slowly stepped forward, before seeing the tag. To Miss Eyre. Merry Christmas. Mr. Rochester. He had purchased her a gift, something even her parents had apparently skipped out on. The young girl gently tore apart the wrapping paper, her eyes widening and shining with tears of happiness moments later. It was a book, one she knew to be rather rare and expensive if she recalled correctly. She had wanted to read it all summer after seeing it in Diagon Alley, but simply could not afford the object. Had he been watching her there too? Had he seen and marked her so early on? The thought both worried and excited her. Did you hear the rumors? Yeah, someone died last night. I guess they are going to shut the school down. That is horrible. Better than being killed at least. Harry Potter frowned. He had been more than willing to wait and see if the adults could finally handle a problem by themselves, but it appeared he had miscalculated for once. If the school was shut down he would be stuck back in that shithole orphanage with nothing to do but try and stop himself from murdering everyone around him. That would not do. Add on to this that if lives truly were in danger he might end up having to start from scratch if one of those he had been working on was caught. Not a huge loss for the most part, but a small part of him had to admit that he was enjoying both Luna and Hermione's company. If one of them were to die he would be quite upset, which undoubtedly lead to further casualties, this time by his own hand. Something would have to be done, and unfortunately it might mean even more attention on him. Albus Dumbledore stood in the medical wing, feeling older than he had in years. Their luck had finally ran out. A student had been found, dead. He had already been informed that an official inquiry was to be held in a mere half an hour, and that he was required to attend. The problem this posed was that he would be forced out of the school, where he was needed to protect the students. Luckily Amelia had intervened and was sending additional Aurors, and that the students would be evacuated. Unfortunately, neither of these two events were scheduled until mid-afternoon, the following day. This meant there would be a window where neither he, nor additional assistance would be available. Perhaps their luck could come back for just 24 hours. Perhaps no one else would suffer a similar fate. The aged wizard stared down at the body of the 12-year-old boy one last time, before wiping away the tears forming at his eyes and slowly making his way towards a nearby flow system. The only good that had come from this tragedy was that they now knew what was the cause. Snakeskin had been found nearby, allowing for identification that it was indeed a basilisk. A basilisk, a bloody freaking basilisk. Nymphadora Tonks swore once more as she crept along the abandoned hallways, terror surrounding her heart. Sure, they now knew what monster prowled Hogwarts, but without Dumbledore the Auror had little hopes of defeating the creature. She still had to try though, maybe she would get lucky? A hissing sound from a corridor on her right had the Metamorphagus throwing herself behind a column in defense. Glancing around the obstacle she caught sight of the massive body that slithered towards her before ducking back. She was going to die. Sinking to the floor, despair crept over the Auror as tears began to flow down her face. Her first assignment, and she was either going to be killed by the monster's gaze, or eaten by it. Why her? Why did she have to die here? Why couldn't a more experienced Auror have been put on the case, someone older, someone who had more time to live their life and enjoy things before being snuffed out? But no, It had to be her, and now she was going to be murdered in this cold, God-forsaken hallway. Alone. As the slithering became louder, and her own heart rate picked up, the Auror let out a few last-minute prayers, apologizing to her mother for everything she would be putting the woman through with her death. A moment later the snake head came within view, but luckily, or unluckily depending on how one might see it, the eyes were facing away. Not for long though, as it turned towards her, and the eyes of the creature suddenly turned pitch black, before exploding violently, earning what Tonks could only assume was a hiss of agony as the massive snake flailed about. Then, footsteps. Slow and methodical, as if it was too much of a hassle to run. Looking up from her seated position, Tonks caught sight of raven black hair, of emerald green eyes, and of a calm demeanor. Harry Potter walked into her view, glanced over at her with an emotionless expression, before turning back to the basilisk. "Oh my, quite a big one, aren't you?" Before any response could be had, a hand made of pure darkness ripped forward from the shadows on the ground, slamming into the creature and pushing it across the hallway into a nearby wall, where the stone crumbled and groaned in protest of the blow. "How unfortunate, I thought something your size would be stronger, what a pity." It was almost detached, the way he spoke. Analytical and cold, like a surgeon performing an autopsy. 3. Over here now, let us try one more test, shall we? Let us see if you can actually manage to draw blood on me. Peeking from around the column, Tonks gasped in horror as the monster surged forward, and snapped into the boy's form, guided only by sound. Then the chuckle echoed through the dark hall. How disappointing. Lifting one hand, as apparently the fangs had failed to even puncture through his clothing, the boy who lived snapped his fingers and the snake was burned alive from the inside out. 3. Want to read more exciting chapters? Then join my Patreon right now and get access to 60+ premium chapters. Link, #Patreon.com/kittylovesmilk, remove the hashtag. Free members get 2+ advanced chapters for free. Join now. Comment. 5. Comment. Vote. Chapter 13. You may wish to hide in a nearby classroom if you want to avoid the students in the morning. I do so hope the remains are enough to keep the school open, though, I so despise staying at that orphanage. With that the boy had departed, barely glancing back at the Auror, still frozen in fear and disbelief. Somehow Tonks had managed to take his advice, and crawled into a nearby empty classroom, before sobbing for the next several hours. She was alive because a 12-year-old boy had stepped forward without an ounce of hesitation and saved her. An Auror saved by a boy younger than 13, what the hell was she even doing with her life? Moody had mentioned that all those who chose her path found themselves pondering this question after their first near-death experience. One would question if they truly were made for such work, and many would drop out rather than continuing to risk their lives on a weekly basis. Tonks, she wasn't quite sure what she would do next. Could she face her colleagues, or the public? What would she say when they accused her of cowardice? What would her mother say? An uneasy sleep finally claimed the woman for a few precious hours, until the sounds of footsteps filled the hallways due to morning classes. Auror, Tonks, I am glad to see you are unharmed. Why yes, Headmaster Dumbledore. Headmaster, about the creature. Oh, no need to say any more, Miss Tonks, save your story for the prophet. I am sure they will want to have at least a few interviews to get it straight. The Metamorphagus blinked in confusion at the minister's comment. What the hell was he talking about? It was odd enough seeing the man at Hogwarts to begin with. It appears you are still a bit shaken, Tonks. Phileas found the remains the morning after you slew the creature and reported that you were resting in a nearby classroom. Magical exhaustion, I suspect. Fudge nodded, as if she had already answered the elderly man's question. Yes, very good, we are all very proud of you, Auror. I can see big plans for you in the future, yes, very big plans indeed. For one so young to single-handedly defeat such a beast and remain unscathed is quite the feat. Yes, but you see, sir. Oh, no need to explain, just get some rest. You will need it for all the interviews you will be giving. Now then, I assume this whole petrification business has been solved, Dumbledore. I believe so, Minister, but I would like an Auror presence stationed until the end of the year, just in case. After the casualty. 1. Yes, of course. Well, I will speak to Amelia to have someone swap out with Auror. Actually, sir, I would like to remain here if it is all right. She had a certain raven-haired boy to confront after all. I want to be sure that nothing else happens, you understand. To see a job through. Yes, of course you do. Quite the commitment, I must say, my dear. Very well, I shall trust Hogwarts to you capable hands. Unfortunately, Mr. Fletchley's parents will need to be obliviated so that they cannot expose our world, such a tragedy, I must say. 1. Obliviated, sir? A voice inquired from nearby, forcing the 3 adults to notice Harry Potter standing in the hallway for the first time. Oh, hello there, and you are? Harry Potter, and you? Harry Potter. Why, of course you are. Very good, isn't this just perfect, Dumbledore? The savior of the wizarding world meets with the protector of Hogwarts. I do so hope you two can become acquainted for the remainder of the year. Imagine the story that will make. Indeed, sir, the boy replied, his gaze resting on Tonks for a mere moment before returning to the eldest wizard. But about Mr. Fletchley, sir? Oh, yes, Harry, unfortunately it has been a long-standing law that should a muggle-born wizard or witch be killed that their family be obliviated of their existence. There was an incident decades ago in which this did not occur and the parents nearly exposed us to the muggle world. Because of that the Wizengamot voted and Dumbledore's explanation was interrupted by the bowler hat-wearing man once again. And it was for the best, I assure you. Now then, I must be going, press conferences, and all that. I will speak with you later this week, Dumbledore. I look forward to it, Minister. None of the adults noticed the rather contemplative expression on the young boy's face. Now then, remember your assignments for next class. I expect detailed explanations on how my means of basilisk disposal are far superior to those apparently used by the Aurors. Lockhart happily reminded the class, earning silent groans from most. Oh, and Miss Weasley, could you wait behind for a minute? I want to speak with you about something. Ginny shivered. It had started only a few weeks prior, a shift in the man's tone when he spoke to her, one that gave her the creeps. I'm sorry, Professor, but I was almost late for potions last time, and I don't want to have Professor Snape angry at me again. Oh, nonsense, I can always write you a note. We have things to discuss. She just wanted to leave, to get as far away from the man as humanely possible, and maybe for the so-called professor to fall into a deep hole and never emerge. I'm terribly sorry, Professor, but that did not work with him last time and I almost got a detention. My family will be quite upset if I receive one my first year, so I must be going. She finished packing up her books, before bolting to the door. She had almost made it when the man's whispered response sent fear down her spine. I will keep that in mind. You should consider what you would be willing to do to avoid detentions from a professor. 1. To avoid being in a room with him, alone, for the night. Ginny Weasley swore to herself that she was willing to do anything. Well, surprisingly light amount of security for a hospital, a raven-haired boy mused as he walked through the empty halls. He had not yet purchased a gift for Neville yet, wanting to find something to further raise the boy above his meek beginnings. Luckily he had stumbled across some information that could prove more than a little useful in this regard. Coming a halt outside of his destination, the boy easily unlocked the door and made his way inside to where two individuals lay, both beyond reach by the outside world for well over a decade. Now then, let us see what we can do here, shall we? Want to read more exciting chapters? Then join my Patreon right now and get access to 60+ premium chapters. Link, #Patreon.com/kittylovesmilk, remove the hashtag. Free members get 2+ advanced chapters for free. Join now. Comment. 5. Comment. Vote. Chapter 14. Excuse me, could you tell me where Neville Longbottom is? Ronald Weasley gave a shrug, before pointing towards the main hall. You wouldn't happen to be related to Arthur and Molly Weasley, would you? Yeah, I'm Ron, youngest son. Yeah, Ginny is the youngest, but she's a girl, so. Oh, so Molly finally got the daughter she wanted, that's good. The pair of adults continued down the hall, leaving a rather confused redhead behind. Entering the main hall, the two glanced about, until they found their target. Neville. The room fell silent, with most of the professors staring in shock. All of this, however, paled in comparison to the boy in question's reaction, which was a mixture of disbelief and fanatical hope. Mom, Dad. Sweetheart, it's us. He slowly stood, and began walking towards his parents, while more than a few of the more experienced teachers cast revealing and identification charms to ensure that the two were whom they claimed. None of this mattered though, as Neville broke into a run a split second later, as his parents pulled him into a sobbing group hug. Meanwhile a raven-haired boy watched on, a small smile appearing on his face as he watched the reunion. It appears you have a visitor, my lord. Harry stifled a groan of annoyance. Sure, it was nice having everyone obey him all of the time, and it was always amusing to watch them try to please him in whatever stupidly simplistic ways students could think up, but sometimes he just wanted to have a little alone time, and after Luna left for the library to do some research while Hedwig was out for an evening flight, he figured that taking a warm relaxing bath would be a nice change of pace, an opportunity to simply enjoy the silence of his own thoughts. Apparently, someone disagreed. Send them in. He replied to the portrait, who nodded and allowed admittance. Watcher Harry, the voice called out a few moments later as a pink-haired Auror stumbled into the bathroom. Miss Tonks. Just Tonks, you can just call me Tonks. Of course, Tonks. So to what do I owe the pleasure of your company this evening? I wanted to talk to you about what happened with the basilisk. Ah, I see. Well, if you are going to arrest me, could you at least wait for a few? Arrest you? Why in Merlin's name would I do that? You mean besides the obvious dark magic I used to utterly slaughter the creature? I am sure Dumbledore will be. No, I didn't tell him. I am just afraid of disappointing everyone now. Everyone thinks I am this big hero and you were the real hero. You saved me, saved the students. I am already far more famous than I desire to be. You can use the recognition far more than I. Hopefully they gave you a raise of some sort. PSH, the bonus was more than half my yearly pay. Well, there you go, so do not worry about it. I still want to thank you though, I mean you saved me. I can assure you that you do not. And all the students you probably saved because of it. Who knows how many would have died. Hell. I would be dead. And then there is the... As the woman rattled on, the boy felt his control slipping a little. He just wanted some peace and quiet, plus the fact he was sitting in a bloody bathrobe, next to a bathtub filling with water. Should have been enough of an indicator of his intentions, but still she didn't seem to get the hint. And then my mother would have cried. Tonks. Oh yes. Either strip, or get out. What? The boy gestured towards the water. What do you think I am doing in a bathroom with a tub of water? Oh. So I reiterate, either strip and get in with me, or leave. I am not taking a bath with you sitting around awkwardly waiting for me to finish. Tonks was about to give a teasing reply, something along the lines of charging him extra for the show or some such nonsense, until she realized he dropped his own robes, and had nothing on underneath them. Without so much as a blush he stepped into the water, letting it rise up to his mid-thighs as he enjoyed the sensation. Well, I do have to thank him, and it would be rather rude to just leave. The Auror mentally justified before stripping down and stepping in behind him, pressing her body against his back as her arms circled his waist, while her hands went to work elsewhere. 8. Tonks bolted upright in the bed as her alarm spell hexed her awake. Where was she? What had? The woman turned to see the sleeping head of messy black hair on the pillow to her left. Oh dear God, the Auror's mind was spinning. She had slept with a 12-year-old, and yes, technically, she hadn't had sex with him, but she could already picture the conversation in her mind. Oh don't worry director, I didn't shag the boy, I just molested him in the bathtub while we were both naked. Then after taking a long relaxing bath with the child, I dragged him to his bed where we snogged senseless for a few hours. No, of course we were naked the entire time, why wouldn't we be? Yes, her career was over. Very over. She would be lucky to not end up in Azkaban after this went public. An Auror assigned to protect the students at Hogwarts having a sexual affair with a second year? She would be locked up just to show that the DMLE had a zero-tolerance policy. Even worse was the fact that the boy made celebrities look like commoners. Why the hell couldn't she have bedded a less popular student? The rumors would be circulating before breakfast. God, I am so dead. And why is that, Tonks? The woman practically jumped from the calm voice behind her. Harry. Who else? The boy asked, his lips finding the back of her shoulder before kissing his way upwards, sending waves of pleasure coursing through her body. I. His mouth was reaching the junction of her neck now, and if he actually reached her pulse. Merlin, she needed to put some distance between them and clear her head before she ended up straddling the boy. We need to talk about this. She interrupted, practically flinging herself out of the bed, falling to the floor in the process. But it is so early. It isn't even 5 yet, come back to bed my dear. She wanted to say no, to just leave right then and there, but God, the way he looked at her, the way she felt, the way that she just wanted to please him. I don't think you understand how bad this is, Harry. Bad. This thing between us. The sheets? I find them quite pleasant. No, not those, you goof. This relationship. I took advantage of you, Harry. I am a monster, I am a sick perverted. If I recall, I made no attempt at stopping you, and if memory serves, I was far from being a victim. I do believe that I was the one who started our third round of exploration. For a brief moment Tonks swore that the snow white owl perched nearby looked ready to tear her eyes out at the statement from her owner. Harry, you don't get it? When my boss finds out, when the public finds out. Why would they find out? I suppose unless you go around bragging about it, but otherwise. Wait, what? Want to read more exciting chapters? Then join my Patreon right now and get access to 60+ premium chapters. Link, #Patreon.com/kittylovesmilk, remove the hashtag. Free members get 2+ advanced chapters for free. Join now. Comment. For comment. Vote. Chapter 15. I am certainly not going to tell anyone. If making this public means I can no longer enjoy your company, then I will just not mention it. I am not as foolish as I look, Tonks. I can keep a secret, you know. I know. I just don't want you to have to keep this. It isn't fair to you, and I feel like I am using you. Oh. Well, there is a solution to that. There is. Yes, would you like to know what it is? A small voice in her mind was warning the Auror against this, that a similar train of thought got her into this mess, and yet she could already feel herself being drawn closer and closer to him. Yes. Come back into bed. Moving slowly, she slipped under the sheets once more. If you are so concerned about this being one-sided, we will just have to balance it a bit. What do you? Simple. I will just be using and taking advantage of you for a while. Just remember what I said last night, Tonks, I am a greedy man. Now that I have you, I am not letting go. Before she could make any utterance, the boy slipped under the sheets, and Tonks felt hands sliding across her body as her mind blanked once more. Oh my, I am quite disappointed, Miss Weasley, I thought your scores would be higher than this. The redhead blinked in confusion. Her test had been near perfect, and the third highest in the class. What was wrong with how she had done? I believe we will need to discuss your study habits. I will see you for detention Friday night. The girl's heart sank, her stomach spinning as she fought back the horrible feeling that seemed to rear its head any time she spoke to the fraud. Barely nodding her head, the young girl left to find her brothers as soon as possible. Surely they could do something, and if not them, then her parents. 3. My lord. Neville, I am surprised to see you here. I would have thought you would be with your parents. They are doing some financial and political stuff that needed to be done with their return. I wanted to speak with you because, they mentioned that the only thing they can recall since before the attack were two green eyes blazing like fire. Very curious. My lord, did you? Did I? Did you bring them back? They were not dead, Neville. In fact, you could probably say I removed more than I restored. But how? An advanced form of the obliviation spell. I figured that the reason they were comatose was due to the mental trauma and memories of the torture. I simply removed these from their minds. Sure, they lost close to 13 years of memories, but... Harry found himself being hugged by a sobbing young boy, who was whispering his thanks the entire time. The two older Slytherins stared in mild confusion as the Devils of Gryffindor, along with their younger sister, walked up to them. We need to talk to him. Immediately. Burrow and Daly glanced over at each other, before crossing their arms in unison. Don't know what the hell you are talking about, Weasel, but piss off. Look, we don't like you. And you don't like us. But we need to speak to your lord. Now. And I don't know. Who? The hell you are talking about? This whole Lord of Slytherin nonsense is a stupid rumor, so get over yourselves and leave. Just, tell him we are here. Weasel, I don't care what you. Just tell him. The Slytherin boy frowned, before sighing, and throwing his hands up in defeat. Fine, tell you what. I will go and announce your arrival. If anyone seems to give a crap, they can speak up. If not, then you will leave, got it? Fine. Nodding, the oldest of the four entered the common room, before making his way over to where a raven-haired boy sat in front of the fireplace, with quite a few of his classmates surrounding him. My lord. Yes. It appears as though Fred, George, and Ginny Weasley are seeking an audience with you. They used your title. Ah, it must be rather important then. Very well, let them in. The older student nodded, before departing. Moments later, the two redheads, along with their sister, stepped in. To what do I owe the pleasure of your company, gentlemen, and my dear Ginny? Why, I haven't seen you in weeks. How are you doing? The youngest simply muttered something, before turning her face towards the ground in embarrassment. Oh, Ginny, how are you? Are you here to swear your loyalty as well? The Gryffindor girl's gaze snapped up towards her old friend Luna, shock written all over her face. Luna. That's me. What are you doing here? I live here now, I thought you knew. And no. We can catch up later, Gin, George interrupted. Listen, Harry, we sort of need to talk to you, in private. The boy who lived quirked up an eyebrow, before nodding and gesturing towards them to follow him into his private chambers. Want to read more exciting chapters? Then join my Patreon right now and get access to 60+ premium chapters. Link, #Patreon.com/kittylovesmilk, remove the hashtag. Free members get 2+ advanced chapters for free. Join now. Comment. To comment. Vote. Chapter 16. We need a favor. Oh. I believe you already owe me quite a bit and now you are asking for more. Quite bold of you, I must say. This is different. Fred began, before glancing over at his sister cautiously. We need you to remove someone from Hogwarts. Remove. You know what we mean, ensure he doesn't come back, through any means necessary. And who would be this unlucky bastard who has earned your hatred? Lockhart. Harry's eyes lit up just a bit, before he leaned forward, and for the slightest of moments the twins felt a shiver of terror run down their spines at the smile that crossed his face. 4. Oh. Congratulations, you now have me intrigued. What has our pathetic excuse of a professor done to you? Not us. Ginny. Emerald eyes flickered towards the youngest redhead for a mere instance, before focusing back onto the twins. Go on. Fred was interrupted by his sister as she spoke up. The way he looks at me, it's wrong, and just creepy. It is like he is imaging what I look like without clothes on, imagining what he would do to me. The girl shivered slightly, earning a comforting double hug from her brothers. A few silent moments later and they continued on. For her, the bastard gave her a detention 2 days ago for Friday evening. We don't want her anywhere near him, much less alone. I see, and what do you have to offer for my part? The two boys blinked in confusion, earning a soft chuckle. This is not merely intervening when your sister was in a life or death situation. You are asking me to kill someone you know. That puts me in danger of being waylaid. Surely you have something you can offer in return. Another minute or two passed, before the boy who lived let out a sigh. Pity. Well, good luck with your situation. I am sure if you talk to your parents they will. They didn't do anything. Fred exclaimed, standing from his seat as rage flashed in his eyes. We did go to them, wrote them a letter, and do you know what they said? We trust Dumbledore to choose the correct teacher. You are overreacting. Can you believe this shite? Overreacting. Oh, I know, my lord. The four students turned to the excitable blonde who had been working quietly thus far on some homework. Yes, Luna. Since you are saving Ginny's virtue, then that is what should be the price. You can never own too many sex buddies after all. 2. What? Never? Okay. The twins turned in shock towards their younger sibling, who was staring down at the ground to avoid eye contact. Gin, you can't. And if I don't? Either way my virginity is going to be taken, at least. This way. I have a choice. At least. This way. It will be to someone my age, someone who I... She trailed off, a blush quickly consuming her face. Unless you two have something else to offer for my services. Harry inquired, earning defeated shakes of the two boys' heads. 1. Well, fear not, although I will take your sister as payment, I have no intention of raping her or any such nonsense. Now then, on to business. I assume you want this done before Friday evening. Nods confirmed the statement, earning another nod from the boy himself. Very well, I think we will plan for tomorrow night then. Be sure that both of you and young Ginny here have a solid alibi for the time between 7 and 9 in the evening. Wouldn't want you three to be linked to the act after all, now would we? Neville. Draco. Congrats about your parents being back. The Longbottom grinned, before nodding. Thanks, I appreciate it. Listen. I don't know if you have anything planned for the summer but... I mean, with our Lord off doing, whatever it is he does, I thought you might want to get together. Maybe do some schoolwork or just go flying or something. The Gryffindor blinked twice in confusion, before grinning even wider. Sounds fun. I mean, we might have to keep our parents out of it lest they start accusing each other. Yeah, no kidding, adults are morons. Also, if I have to go flying, you have to come with me on a camping trip. Draco paused, weighing the positives and negatives of such a thing. He hated camping, and the outdoors in general, but also knew that Neville abhorred heights. All right, but you have to come to a professional Quidditch game with me. 1 game, plus 5 separate flying sessions for a day of camping. 4 sessions, and I will buy snacks at the game. Deal. Want to read more exciting chapters? Then join my Patreon right now and get access to 60 plus premium chapters. Link, #Patreon.com/kittylovesmilk, remove the hashtag. Free members get 2 plus advanced chapters for free. Join now. Comment. 7 comment. Vote. Chapter 17. Professor. Harry, please come in. What can I do for you? Well, I was just hoping that you might indulge a request of mine. I was hoping to get an honest assessment of my dueling skills against someone above a student level, so I was thinking that maybe. The boy trailed off, leaving Lockhart to fill in the blanks for him. Unfortunately, it took longer than Harry was hoping, as the man stared off into space for nearly a minute before coming to the correct conclusion. You wanted to test yourself against me. After hearing about all of your amazing conquests, sir, I was hoping to see how I measure up. The gleam that appeared in the man's eyes was more than a little unsettling, as he cleared his throat with a nod. Yes, I suppose I can do that. I assume you want to keep this a secret, yes? Yes, sir, if anyone else knew. No, I completely understand, we both have images to maintain. Shall we make this a bit more interesting though? The winner gets to play a game with the loser for the rest of the evening. The boy's head cocked to the side in an innocent expression. Game, sir? Yes, oh don't worry my dear child, I promise you will enjoy it. The young Potter was forced to ignore the sudden urge to rip the man's tongue from his mouth after he licked his lips in a rather disgusting manner. 1. Oh, okay. Perfect, let me just set up the platform. A few waves of his wand later and the two stood opposite of each other. First we bow and then we begin, the man called, before sending a stunner at the raven-haired boy. Harry actually did roll his eyes, as he shifted slightly, allowing the spell to pass by him, and raised his own arm in retaliation. It was past time for him to stop holding back the flood. Darkness surged forward, smashing into the man opposite to him and sending the professor crashing to the ground with a cry of pain. Why, what was that? I'm surprised. Professor. I thought you would have dodged that. A pity, stand back up so that we may resume please. The blonde struggled to his feet, whimpering slightly as he crashed back down to one knee. I seem to have pulled something. We will have to resume this at later. Stand up. Lockhart froze, before staring up into the darkness-filled eyes of his opponent. 1. I can't, Harry. Mr. Potter, you may call me. Mr. Potter. Why yes, oh of course. I am injured though, and does it look like I care? You bragged about how you fought off a vampire lord with 2 broken legs, sang about your defeat of a pack of werewolves without a wand. Claimed you defeated a voodoo dark lord with nothing but your wits and wandless magic. Stand up. That was just fiction, Harry. Just stories to sell books. I never. Then what good are you? A rod of darkness ripped through the man's back, impaling him through his torso before withdrawing with a sickening sound, leaving the frog coughing up blood. Wait. Harry. Wait. Whatever for? You said it yourself, the winner gets to play for the rest of the evening. Does it look as though I am done playing? Please. Harry. A snap echoed through the room as the man's leg was twisted a dozen times in rapid succession, breaking the bones like toothpicks. Do you know why I am doing this, Professor? The boy inquired, ignoring the screams of agony from his opponent. It is not because you called me the wrong name. It is not because you are a loser and a fraud. It is not because you dared to presume you could have your way with me. No, all of these things I could overlook. Please, mercy. The act that condemned you was when you set your sights upon Ginny, when you dared to attempt to take what is mine. I am a greedy man, Lockhart. She is mine. And will remain mine. I won't touch her, I swear. Oh, I know you want. Harry would spend the remainder of the evening finding new and inventive ways to pull apart a human being without killing them. Lockhart's death would finally come after several hours of dismemberment. His remains would never be found. Headmaster, it appears we have a bit of a problem. Oh? What is that, Nymphatora? The Auror fought back the urge to backhand the man, before handing over a leaf of parchment, earning the curiosity of the remainder of the staff. It appears as though Professor Lockhart has decided to take a sabbatical. Odd, he did not mention anything to me. The remainder of the staff shook their heads as well. According to his note, he has left due to a family emergency. Snape's eyes widened, as he directed his gaze towards the paling headmaster. It was the same excuse they had used in regards to Quirrell's disappearance. 2. Want to read more exciting chapters? Then join my Patreon right now and get access to 60+ premium chapters. Link, #Patreon.com/kittylovesmilk, remove the hashtag. Free members get 2+ advanced chapters for free. Join now. Comment. 2. Comment. Vote. Chapter 18. I can't believe we are still doing this. Shut up, not and shove over. I want to be as far away from Weasel as possible. What did you just say, Malfoy? You heard me. Gentlemen, kindly shut your mouths and stand still. The picture will not come out right if you do not. The boys grumbled and fell into their assigned spots with the rest of their class. It was a tradition at Hogwarts that at the end of every year a class photo would be taken to show unity in Hogwarts, despite the obvious divisions among the house lines. 3. Bloody hell, Scabbers, quit fidgeting. You brought your gross rat into the picture. Ron rolled his eyes at the Hufflepuff girl's exclamation. Of course I did, and he is not gross. He is a family pet. Right, stand still, children, and say Merlin. With everything that has happened, this photo will be going on the front page of the Prophet. Ginny? What do you think you are doing? What are you talking about, Ron? I am just talking to Slytherins. Yeah, and they are Slytherins. Ginny. They are evil. They are not. Yes, they are. No sister of mine is going to be talking to any slimy snakes. I will talk to whoever I want to talk to. You do not get to decide who I spend time with, Ron. You can't be seen with them. The young girl rolled her eyes. And who am I supposed to be seen with then? I don't have any friends in Gryffindor, Luna is always in Slytherin, and I barely know anyone from Hufflepuff or Ravenclaw. You should be with Gryffindors. We are the good guys. Oh, get over yourself, Ron. We are in school. There are no good guys or bad guys. This isn't some stupid adventure book. 2. No, it isn't. This is real life. What are Mom and Dad going to say when they hear about this? They will probably be happy I am making friends, and if not, then I do not care about what they say. It is not their business who I choose to have as friends at Hogwarts. Besides, I already told them about the boy. Ron reached out to grab his sister by the arm and pull her away, and yell at her about her choice in potential boyfriends, but gripped a bit too hard and earned a cry of pain from the younger girl. Is there a problem here? A voice called from behind, forcing the red-headed boy to spin around and face down 2 angry emerald eyes. Mind your own business, Potter. You are hurting a friend of mine. I consider this my business. I said. Mr. Weasley, 100 points from Gryffindor, and detention tonight. What for? The boy shouted back at the Slytherin head of house in rage. Harming another student, insulting your fellow classmates, and back-talking a teacher. Humph, some teacher. You are a week of detention, Mr. Weasley, and I dare you to make that comment again. This time it was McGonagall, who had walked into the hallway unseen moments prior. The boy merely sputtered, before stomping off in rage. Hello, Harry. Good evening, Auror Tonks, something I can help you with? The woman nodded, just here to do a routine inspection. With everything that happened, and now a professor's disappearance, the DMLE wants to ensure that all of the students are safe and secure. Slytherin is the last stop on my list, and since you have a private room. The boy nodded, before gestured to let the woman walk inside. Whatever I can do to help. She nodded appreciatively and glanced around before approaching the bed and running her fingers along the sheets, caught up in previous, forbidden, memories. I assume you will need to thoroughly examine the bed. The pink-haired Auror's breath caught in her throat at the husky tone he had used. She knew exactly what he was suggesting, and couldn't quite bring herself to refuse. Of course, can't have our students in any sort of danger now, can we? I would appreciate your help in this matter. The raven-haired boy smiled, before discarding his outer cloak. As I said before, anything I can do to help. Harry Potter was a very intelligent boy. In fact, if he was actually offered an IQ test, it would put him well above the genius range. He could speed read and memorize books in mere minutes, even understanding the context of each as he did so. He could use new spells simply by seeing them performed one time, could learn new languages in mere days, and had the highest academic achievement record in the history of the prestigious school. All that being said, the boy was a bit confused at the moment, because Luna Lovegood was actually ignoring Him. Luna. She didn't so much as shift in her seat, instead continued working on an essay for the summer. The Potter heir glanced over to where Hedwig was sitting nearby as well, also ignoring him in favor of looking through a book on exotic locations. Hedwig. The white-haired girl refused to acknowledge him as well. Normally he would find such a situation irritating, and probably force his magic. Not to lash out at the two, causing him the undue stress. Oddly enough though, there was a different emotion. Something he had often heard was known as regret. Are you both ignoring me? No answer. You know. He mused, sitting down at a nearby table as if talking to himself. I find myself in a rather odd situation. The last time someone willingly chose to ignore my presence, I was debating on whether to simply depart, and never see them again. Hedwig froze in her seat, recalling that incident as the memory of being ignored and abandoned tore through her mind. Was this a bad idea? Were they going to cause far more trouble than anything they could ever gain from such actions? But for some reason I am not feeling inclined to do so this time. The pale girl noticed the blonde's shoulders relax ever so slightly as well. Apparently, Luna had been sharing the same thoughts. The problem, however, is that despite the fact that I could violently rip into both of your minds with ease and find out exactly what the problem is, I would rather not do so. This also means that I am unable to make any corrections to prevent this sort of insubordination in the future. Since it seems you are both set in your path. Perhaps you could speak with each other so that I might overhear. Say Luna. Yes, Hedwig. Are you still angry about Tonks spending the night again? Me? Not as much. I am far more upset over the fact that someone else was chosen for our Lord to use for his enjoyment than me, especially someone who is not loyal, and he has not had nearly as much contact with. I see. Well, I am still angry about Tonks being invited into our bed. My bed. Both girls fell silent at the icy tone that permeated the air, the room darkening slightly as his magic flowed around them. 6. It is not our bed, it is my bed, just as it is my decision on whom I share relations with. He slowly rose, before pacing in a circle around the two girls. It appears as though there has been some miscommunication somewhere along the lines. Neither of you are my superior. Neither of you are in control of my life or my actions, and neither of you have a say in whom I choose to share this life with. I could walk outside and fuck the nearest girl, and neither of you would be able to change that. 2. He paused, allowing the darkness to recede and his voice to take on the happier tone once more. However, I would like for both of you to share this life with me, and so I will take your feelings into account and attempt to involve you more. That does not mean I will stop in these activities, but I will try and be more discreet. Turning, he addressed the young blonde directly. As for you, Luna, I am unsure as to why you are upset with me. Considering Hedwig was the one who insisted I avoid even looking at you in any inappropriate way. I was planning on thoroughly exploring your body the first week you were here. 1. The blonde shot an annoyed glare at the former owl, who muttered about a certain boy betraying her. I have upset you both though, and I intend to make this up to you. I have overheard Pansy more than once demanding Draco buy her something pretty in return for her forgiveness, and so I will allow you both to pick out one item from any catalog you can find in the Slytherin dorm area. Luna promptly gave a squeal of delight, ran over to kiss the boy on the cheek, before bolting to obtain the necessary research materials. Hedwig merely stared at him in surprise. What, are you so shocked that I can be kind? No, I know you can be. I am just surprised that you let us off so easily, that you did not punish us. He glanced over at her, before a smirk appeared on his face. Oh my dear Hedwig, who said anything about not punishing you? I fully intend to make you earn your forgiveness. I am just debating on what position I want you in tonight. 7. The white-haired beauty blushed deeply, before muttering something about it being Luna's fault. Do not concern yourself with Luna, my dear. He drawled, slowly moving so that he stood behind her. She will be receiving her punishment once we agree she is old enough for me to use her properly. His hand slipped into the top of her dress, fingertips just above her skin. Now then, perhaps we should do a bit of a sneak preview. Want to read more exciting chapters? Then join my Patreon right now and get access to 60+ premium chapters. Link, #Patreon.com/kittylovesmilk, remove the hashtag. Free members get 2+ advanced chapters for free. Join now. Comment. 1 comment. Vote. Chapter 19. Albus, may I speak with you please? The elderly wizard glanced over at the float, and where Amelia Bones' head was currently being projected. Ah, Director, you seem to have caught us in the middle of our last staff meeting for the year. Could this wait until? No. Blinking in surprise, the man nodded, before allowing the head of the DMLE to step through. Is there a problem, ma'am? Yes, Tonks, there is. Albus, we have a situation that need immediate addressing. Oh. Sirius Black has escaped from Azkaban. Minerva McGonagall struggled to recall the last time in which Albus Dumbledore looked so defeated. The man slumped, his back hunched over, skin pale, and hands quivered ever so slightly. It was almost depressing to see the man she always viewed in such awe appear so very old. When was it discovered that Sirius escaped? I was just notified about an hour ago. Horus are currently sweeping his cell along with the rest of Azkaban for any sign of him. The man nodded sadly. He already knew that there would be nothing to be found though. Headmaster Dumbledore. He looked up, his eyes full of regrets, at the current director of the DMLE. Black had a visitor last night, Minister Fudge. Surely we do not think that the minister was involved. Pomona Sprout whispered in shock. Or that he would be stupid enough to help the man escape, and smart enough to actually do so. Snape muttered in contempt. No, he is not suspected as being involved. Bones replied, ignoring the quip from the potion master. However, he did note that his visit was short. He apparently wanted to rub the fact that Harry Potter was alive and well in the man's face, and had shown him a copy of the class photos from the prophet. Stupid ignorant man. Everyone turned to McGonagall, who had begun cursing softly in a thick accent. Now he knows what Harry looks like. Albus. The man returned his attention to the head of the DMLE, whose eyes were wide in horror. Mr. Potter said he lived in the Muggle world. When he returns this summer he won't have any protection. Black will be able to locate him. We will relocate him, of course. I was intending on doing so during the summer. This merely puts more haste in these old bones. But where to, headmaster? Most of the boy's friends are in Slytherin. Merlin knows that the Malfoys would not think twice about turning him over to a Death Eater. Severus noted, earning winces from the remainder of the room. The elder wizard sat in silence for several minutes, going over various scenarios in his mind before seemingly coming to a decision. We need an expert. The others blinked in confusion. An expert, sir? Tonks questioned, speaking up for the first time since her boss had entered the room. Yes, an expert in Sirius Black. We need someone who knows how he thinks, how he will react and plan, or at least how he used to. Amelia, please reach out and contact Mad-Eye Moody for me. He helped instruct the boy when he first joined the Aurors. I will be summoning Remus Lupin in a few. The snort from Snape was heard by all, and earned him quite a few glares. I understand that you do not like him, Severus, but I hope you can agree that Harry's safety is more important than your dislike of the man. Yes, of course, headmaster. I will attempt to keep you both working on separate projects as often as possible to keep your interactions to a minimum. The Slytherin head blinked in shock, before nodding graciously. We should take him out of the country. Screw the bloody country, let's get him off of the continent. Oh, because that will work. What do you intend to do? Hastily set up a bunch of wards on a random island. Yes. What about one of the Auror safe houses? You mean the ones Black already knows about? No, I mean the new ones he doesn't know about. And hope that no one in the DMLE has any dark connections. As the room spun with various arguments of how to proceed, Albus Dumbledore directed his attention to the one person not speaking at all. The man who had taken to staring out of the window to the courtyard below his office. What was Remus Lupin looking at? The Forbidden Forest? The Quidditch field? The lake? What memories consumed his thoughts? Remus. The man snapped out of his stupor, and turned to look at those who had fallen silent at the headmaster's soft, but commanding, inquiry. What do you suggest, my boy? Want to read more exciting chapters? Then join my P*Patreon right now and get access to 60+ premium chapters. Link, #Patreon.com/kittylovesmilk, remove the hashtag. Free members get 2+ advanced chapters for free. Join now. Comment. 5 comment. Vote. Chapter 20. I don't know. You knew Sirius Black better than anyone else in this room. Anything you can tell us? 1. I knew him over a decade ago, a lifetime ago. I understand, Remus, and we are not asking for you to perfectly predict him, but we need all of the help we can get protecting Harry. That single name seemed to change everything. A spark that hadn't existed before appeared in the werewolf's eyes as he straightened up just a bit more than before, his mind working furiously in ways that it hadn't in years. Another few seconds passed before his voice called out, calm and yet authoritative. Keep him moving. Make a list of safe locations that are already warded and switch them out at random intervals, at random times, and in random order. If you think there is even a hint of a pattern, do something random. If you don't think there is a pattern, make a random change anyway. No more than a week at any location, although that is pushing it. We keep the list separate. No one has the complete version. No one knows anything more than the next hop, or an emergency location. Now you are speaking my language, boy. What else? Moody growled with an almost excited note in his voice. 1. No Aurors, they can be bought or bribed. No one that we are not sure is 110% on our side. No one stays with him the entire time. Sweep everything he owns for tracking charms at every stop, change his outfit as often as possible. Use Muggle and magical outfits, no school robes. If he will allow it, change his appearance, but don't force him. We do that and he will act like a teenager and rebel, which will make it worse. More, come on boy, more, the retired Auror encouraged, feeling life and almost intoxication flowing into his veins at being in the field once more. 1. We need a list, a massive one, of every possible safe house we can use. From there we can narrow it down dramatically. Then we need a leak. Someone who is loyal enough that Sirius would trust him, but stupid enough to let out information. We give them a different list. No auras though and no traps. We are trying to slow him down until the auras catch up, not put him in flight mode. He flees and we have nothing. Right now we know what his target is. Is all of this necessary? McGonagall whispered, almost shocked at the militaristic way that the situation was being handled. Sirius was one of the best trackers alive. Not only physically but also in blending in. He could get in and out of virtually any fortress the enemy had better than anyone else, except maybe Peter. But he could get information. He could eavesdrop on a conversation halfway across a crowded room and pick the perfect target for a con or seduction mission. He will find Harry if anyone knows where he is going to be. What happens if our luck runs out and he does meet the boy? Snape inquired, a rare look of respect in his eyes focused on the homeless-looking man. Emergency port keys, several of them, each set up by a different person with a location unknown to everyone else. We each keep an indicator with us, should one go off, at all times. Then what, he will be able to trace. Then we go off the grid entirely. No contact with anyone. Period. We leave one message indicating he is safe, and then vanish. Meet back at the platform for school. Phileas inquired, his eyes burning brightly as he soaked up the information in the way only a true Ravenclaw could. No, if the emergency goes off he doesn't go back to Hogwarts. Sirius will expect it. Then what? We go on the run for the rest of his life? What happens if Black is never caught? We deal with it if it happens. This is the emergency protocol. If this group becomes compromised in any way, shape or form, at that point it is better for whoever has him to create a plan on the fly rather than rely on anything concrete that can be leaked. Use your best judgment, but take whatever you would probably do, and the opposite, then choose the option in the middle. We will start the list immediately. Most of his housemates are out of the question due to questionable ties either directly or through family friends. However, it seems as though Miss Lovegood has taken quite the liking to him, as has the young Miss Weasley and Mr. Longbottom. Remus nodded towards the eldest wizard. I can take him as well, hopefully he likes camping. I am sure my mom wouldn't mind if we asked her, although considering she is cousins to Black. Either way, I have my own apartment now under Aura level wards. I can certainly let him stay with me. Phileas, McGonagall, and Sprout all nodded as well. I seem to have a decent friendship with Harry. I doubt Sirius Black will suspect his astronomy teacher of housing him. Thank you, Aurora. I myself would take him for the summer, but with all of the meetings I have he would be in a constant predictable schedule, but I can at least take him for a few scattered days. The headmaster replied, his gaze drifting towards Severus, who gave a sigh at the look. I can if no one else will. But considering my ties to Lucius Malfoy and my current situation, I doubt it would be for the best. I agree, we will certainly not force you to look after him unless it is an absolute emergency, Severus. Harry, my boy, thank you for stopping up to see an old man on such short notice. Of course, sir, to be honest I expected this after last year. Perhaps this can be a bit of a tradition between us. The older man smiled, before nodding. Hopefully under better circumstances next time. A man named Sirius Black escaped from Azkaban less than a week ago. We believe he may have chosen you as a potential target, and so we are going to be making a bit of a change in your normal summer routine. Oh. Might I inquire as to what this man would want from me? Harry, my name is Remus Lupin, a poorly dressed man announced from the side, as he took a slow step towards the student. I was a close friend of your parents. Sirius Black was as well before he betrayed them to the Dark Lord. He is the reason they are dead, Harry. I see. For the shortest of moments the wolf instincts in Remus whimpered back in terror, something the man had never experienced before. His eyes widened in shock, but from the corner of his eye he noticed no change in the headmaster, and thus set the situation aside for the time being. 1. So, what exactly is the plan? Well, Harry, the current plan is to have you stay at different locations throughout the break, to keep you safe. I am truly sorry that we must interfere with your life in this way, my boy. After everything that has happened this year I am sure you were looking forward to a quiet, peaceful summer. Actually, headmaster, this sounds rather exciting. I was bored after the first week of break last year, and this way I don't have to go back to that place. Lupin's eyebrow quirked upward. He had never been informed as to where Harry was staying, only that he was safe, or that he was supposed to have been. He had managed to pick up on the fact that his original location had been changed early on in his life though. Where are you currently living, Harry? An orphanage in the Muggle world, so where will I be going first, headmaster? From the subtle shift in the atmosphere Dumbledore knew he would be dealing with a rather irate marauder in a moment. You will be with Remus here first, Harry. Remember to be careful at all times. We do not know how much Sirius Black will be able to discover or how many contacts he might still have in our world. Of course, sir. Harry, could you give me and Dumbledore a few minutes alone? We need to have a conversation. The boy nodded his hand, before departing, leaving Remus to glare dangerously at the elder wizard. Want to read more exciting chapters? Then join my Patreon right now and get access to 60+ premium chapters. Link, #Patreon.com/kittylovesmilk, remove the hashtag. Free members get 2+ advanced chapters for free. Join now. Comment. 5 comment. Vote. Chapter 21. So Harry, have you ever been camping before? I have not, Mr. Lupin. Please, Just call me Remus, or Moony if you prefer. Moony it is then. The man smiled, as the two continued walking through the woods towards a small clearing that Remus had selected a few days prior, and then warded. I hope this is okay with you, Harry. I haven't had much luck with jobs lately and so. Quite all right, I have always wanted to sleep under the stars. The man smiled warmly towards the boy he had always considered his godson. If it hadn't been for Black Moony, is that name because of you being a werewolf? Lupin's thought pattern, and travel froze, before slowly turning towards the boy. How did you? Amber eyes, scars across body, obvious nickname, inability to hold a job despite no signs of substance abuse or personality disorders. Also there is the discoloration in your magical aura. Why you can see auras? Of course, I thought it was a common thing in the wizarding world. No Harry, that is an exceptionally rare talent, and most of the time those who actually can require deep concentration and a quiet environment to focus. Well I can turn it on and off. My apologies for using it on you without your consent though. I usually keep it off but with the headmaster's insistence upon being safe. No, that is all right Harry. I would never ask you to hinder yourself for me. So I have been meaning to ask, what is Sirius Black like? He was a good friend, or so we thought. He always seemed so loyal and happy. I guess it really shows how manipulative someone can be. And you do not like manipulative individuals. I was in Gryffindor, we prefer brutal honesty. Oh. So I shouldn't lie to you then. Cub, I am never going to force you to tell me anything but, you never need to lie to me. What if the truth is dark though? Horrible even? What if I have done awful things? Cub, there isn't anything you can do that. I have killed people Moony, several already. Some were evil, others, not as much, and I will continue killing. Undoubtedly I will end up killing innocent people as well. I am going to change the world Moony, whether for better or worse I cannot quite tell yet. Some will call me a Dark Lord, and they will be right. 1. The werewolf could only stare in horror at the young boy, who was practically confessing to being evil. What should he do in this situation? What could he do? I will let you kill me Remus, I will allow you to stop me here and now before I can commit any more atrocities. You will be able to vanish, to disappear if you want to. Or perhaps you can blame Black, or even take credit. If you tell Dumbledore everything I am sure he would believe you. Snape already has suspicions surrounding me and if you join him the old man will undoubtedly. Cub stop. I am not going to kill you, I am not going to hurt you. Do you believe I am deceiving you? Would you like to understand clearer? There is nothing you can say that. Remus froze as darkness washed over him. Magical power on a scale he had never felt, had never imagined. Roared into existence, as if it had gone from noon to midnight in an instant. 1. Now do you understand? What should he do? Kill the child who had admitted to take lives? Stop a Dark Lord before he came to power? No, he couldn't. Even if Harry was holding a sword to an innocent person's throat he wouldn't be able to harm him. Even without being James and Lily's son there was something else about the boy, something that drew him like a moth to a candle. Werewolves were dark creatures, he knew that, but he had never understood how much until this moment. Until every instinct in his body was screaming at him to kneel before this child, to worship and serve him until the end of his days. To simply feel his magic surrounding him. I do understand Harry, but I still will not harm you. I left you with Dumbledore when you were a child Harry. I left you and you ended up in a bloody orphanage, I am not going to abandon you again, never again. Interesting. Then I suppose I will need to work on improving opinion towards werewolves now won't I? What? Well I can't very well let one of my closest advisors be treated poorly. The pride that Remus Lupin felt in his chest at this trust was both exhilarating, and frightening at the same time. Hey Cub, what are you up to? Oh just writing a letter to a potential follower. I don't think that is a good idea. If Sirius tracks it? That would certainly be a nice benefit, perhaps he would prove an actual challenge. This isn't a game Cub, Sirius is dangerous if he finds you. If he finds me I can only hope he is more entertaining than a possessed professor, a fraud, or a 60-foot basilisk have proven thus far. Sitting on her bed a young witch stared at the book that lay open in her lap, staring but never actually seeing the words on the page. What was the point after all? Her parents hadn't said 3 sentences to her since she had arrived home over a week ago, and she certainly had no friends in the Muggle world. It looked as though her summer was going to be even worse then. The soft flapping of wings startled the girl, as a brown owl stood at the end of her bed with a letter attached to its leg. What is this? After giving the creature a treat or two, and watching it depart into the sky, Hermione Granger slowly opened the contents, allowing her eyes to roam over it. Dearest heir. I hope your summer has proven relaxing after the year we have just experienced at school. I am afraid that my current situation will not allow me to receive letters as I am required to fear for my safety or some such nonsense. Regardless I will continue writing to you as often as I can, and I hope we can continue our conversations in the coming year. Luckily for me I was able to purchase the upcoming school books last week, meaning that I will at least have something to do while I am adjusting to my new living conditions. Have you begun your reading yet? I can only imagine that you have based upon the conversations between us. I can tell that you are a rather brilliant young maiden who can do amazing things in this world if you are given the chance to do so. Speaking of which, Have you thought about future career paths? I have heard rumors that the third year is when most of the electives are unlocked. If you are that age, you should consider taking one or two of them. I understand that last year was rough for you, my dear, and I do so hope this summer proves to be better than your previous one. If it was my choice, I would have liked to have spent some of it with you, perhaps on a faraway island or a sandy beach. Nothing but the warm sand, sunshine, and peaceful crashes of the waves, besides us of course. Laying on the beach reading, your skin warm to the touch. Walking along it in the moonlight during the evenings, with the light reflecting in your eyes. Have you ever been on a tropical vacation? I personally have not. In fact, I have never been out of England, or on any official vacation. I suppose this year is slightly different since I will be moving around quite a bit, but I would be reluctant to call it a vacation, more like a forced summer of relocation. If you have not already heard, there is a dangerous man on the loose by the name of Sirius Black. He is wanted for several counts of murder and treason, though I doubt he would have any reason to come after you. I do so hope you stay safe. I would be devastated if something were to happen to you, my dear. I count the days until we can have our next face-to-face chat. Until then, remember that you do have those who care for you. Yours, Lord Rochester. The bookworm reread the letter a few times, before giving a girlish squeal and holding it close to her chest. He hadn't abandoned her, the only light in her life had not yet given up on her happiness. She was rather saddened by the fact she could not write back to him, but that just meant she would need to make a list of things to talk about when they next met. Perhaps it was better this way, considering she normally dominated the bathroom conversations. 1. Want to read more exciting chapters? Then join my Patreon right now and get access to 60+ premium chapters. Link, #Patreon.com/kittylovesmilk, remove the hashtag. Free members get 2+ advanced chapters for free. Join now. Comment. 5. Comment. Vote. Chapter 22. Father, I wish to speak with you about something. Oh, and what is that, Draco? I heard rumors that Sirius Black has escaped. He has. I would like to request that we offer protection to Harry Potter this summer. Surely Black would not. I will not entertain the boy who defeated my lord in my own home, Draco. But father, he is powerful. I informed you last summer that. You told me what? You saw not what is true. Your knowledge and skill in the magical arts have not matured enough to understand what true power is, Draco. Rumors are being whispered amongst those of us not in Azkaban that the Dark Lord is working on his return. When he does, you will be taking the Dark Mark as my heir. I have already pledged my allegiances, father. I will not forsake my oaths. You are a child, Draco. You know not what you were doing. You will show your loyalty to the Dark Lord upon his return. If you insist on continuing communication with Potter, then you will use this friendship to turn him over to our Lord's whims. I will not. Draco. The elder Malfoy growled as he grabbed his son by the front of his shirt, in menacing fashion. I grow tired of this fantasy you have created concerning Potter. You will respect your betters. I do respect them, father. And hopefully one day you see that before we end up on opposite sides of. The slap that echoed through the room was the only indicator of how Draco found himself lying on the floor, a red mark across his face as his father stared coldly down at him. 1. This year, Draco, this year you will see the folly in your ways and take the mark. This year you will understand where your place is, and who your true lord is. With that the man turned and departed, leaving Draco to slowly pick himself up while muttering under his breath. One of us will. I have a problem, I don't understand why I let you call me that, considering your own feelings towards your first name, Tonks. The Metamagus merely grinned, before pulling a bottle of alcohol from her fridge, because I bought the booze. Fair enough, so what's been going on? Hero. Ugh, not you too. Oh come on, you killed a basilisk single-handedly. Did you really not expect any fame to come with that? I just don't feel like I deserve it. Hestia Jones waved off her friend's complaint. Girl, if anyone deserves the fame and fortune, it is you, so long as you do not forget us measly commoners afterwards. I will never forget you, The woman grinned, before taking a drink from the bottle. All right, so answer the question. What has been going on with you? I have been dating a lot recently. Oh. Finally decided to get back out there after finishing Aura training at. Any cute guys? 8 dates in a month, and they have all been losers or creeps. The woman's smile dropped. I'm sorry, Tonks, but 8. Who are you trying to get out of your head? The Aura laughed. They had both established the theory that when someone went on multiple dates in a short time span, that the person was trying to forget about another individual. You know me too well. Listen, I can trust you to keep a secret, right? Yeah, course you can. I'm serious here. If you tell anyone, I could end up in prison. The slightly older girl's smile fell from her face. Tonks, what is going on? I promise you that I won't tell anyone as long as you aren't trying to kill yourself or something like that. I had a relationship a couple months ago. Oh, you mean like when you were on duty? Yeah. Tonks, it is fine, not like you are the first one to date a coworker or anything. No, it isn't that. I was working at Hogwarts. You dated a student. I wouldn't really call it dating. Oh my god, you slept with a student. 1. But, why did you? I don't know, the metamorph screamed, as she stood and began pacing, finally breaking down under the stress she had been putting herself through. It isn't like I want to be attracted to him. And I don't fancy anyone else at that entire bloody place. I mean, hell, I barely even want to have kids now. I just don't know. Okay, calm down before you hurt yourself. Who was it? The mumbled reply earned a sigh from the friend. I can't understand you when you talk like Harry Blood Potter. Want to read more exciting chapters? Then join my Patreon right now and get access to 60 plus premium chapters. Link, #Patreon.com/kittylovesmilk, remove the hashtag. Free members get 2 plus advanced chapters for free. Join now. Comment. 7 comment. Vote. Chapter 48. Oh, okay, well, I mean, it isn't just that though. The basilisk? The one I got a raise, and promotion, and bonus, and everything for killing? Nope, not me. I was too busy hiding behind a freaking column sobbing my eyes out in fear while he killed it. I was saved from a monster by a 12-year-old boy Hess. Then what do? I stand by in silence while everyone congratulates me, then I molest him. Too. So you didn't. Does it matter? We did everything. Except for shag like freaking rabbits. What the hell is wrong with me? Hestia Jones sat silent for a few moments, while her best friend dropped onto the opposite couch and began crying. Suddenly it all made sense, and the woman stood to walk over and comfort the Auror. SHHH Tonks, it is okay. I understand what happened. What? It is hero worship, Tonks. You and I were both raised on stories about this miraculous hero that saved the world, someone who has been called everything from Merlin reincarnate to champion of the light. Then he saves your life from a freaking monster. You fell in love with the idea of him, Tonks. That is why all of these other guys can't measure up. You have set Harry on a pedestal that no one can possibly hope to reach. So what do I do? Well, you mentioned seeing him at some point this summer, right? Yeah. I volunteered to look after him and, oh god, I have to cancel. I can't be around him and... No, this is perfect. Okay, this is what you are going to do. He comes over, you set him up the guest room, and then you take him on a date. Are you out of your bloody mind? I practically forced myself on. Did you? Did you force yourself on him, Tonks? Did you hold him down and touch him while he told you not to? Of course not. So then he didn't understand what was happening? You took advantage of him not understanding the consequences of what you were doing. He practically started. Half of it he's. So then the only thing you did wrong was have relations with someone younger than you. So relax a bit, since there aren't Oros knocking on the door to arrest you. I assume he hasn't told anyone, right? No, he didn't want me to get in trouble, same reason he let me take credit. So he is far more mature than a normal person his age, which is why you are taking him on a date. Think about it, Tonks, you can't get over him because you still imagine him as being perfect. That is why all these other guys are such losers to you. You will never be able to have a normal relationship while you have this perfect man stuck in your head, but once you talk to him, get to know him, and realize he is just a kid. 1. Then the illusion fades, you're brilliant. You just now realized this. Pup. Yes, Mooney, the boy inquired, as the two men lay on the grass, staring up at the star-filled sky. I am really glad you agreed to come out here with me, not just for your safety but, well, I have enjoyed these past few days. As have I. Although I wish we could have met sooner. The older man's shoulders sagged as he recalled the life he had thus far missed out on. I am glad that we can spend this time together now. Like that Lupin spirit's sword, who would have thought that there would be someone who could affect him even more than James and Sirius used to be able to do. Want to read more exciting chapters? Then join my Patreon right now and get access to 60 plus premium chapters. Link, #Patreon.com/kittylovesmilk, remove the hashtag. Free members get 2 plus advanced chapters for free. Join now. Comment. 5 comment. Vote. Chapter 24. Remus Lupin froze in shock as he watched a beautiful teenage girl walk out of his godson's tent. When the hell had she arrived? Cub, who is that? Oh, that is just Hedwig. Hedwig, as in your owl. Hedwig. Yes, although she isn't an owl right now. Yeah, of course, Mooney, I can trust you, right? The man focused his gaze away from the girl, who was making her way towards the river they had camped near, and back towards two emerald eyes. Yes, of course you can, Harry. Not many people know about her, it is one of my closest guarded secrets. Hedwig has been with me since as far back as I can remember, she was my only friend. The werewolf's heart broke for the boy. He should have been raised with friends and family, not in an orphanage with nothing but whatever Hedwig was to keep him company. I am trusting you not to tell anyone about her. I understand, Cub, and I swear I will not say a word to anyone about this. The preteen nodded happily, before starting after the girl. Oh, Cub. What exactly is your relationship with her? We are as close as two people can be without being married. Oh. So to answer your question, yes, we are sleeping together. With that he continued on to wash up with the white-haired beauty, leaving a stuttering older man behind. "Hello there, young man, my name is Arthur Weasley and this is my wife Molly. I understand you will be staying with us for a bit." Harry nodded in response, while Remus gave the man a warm smile. "That is the plan, Mr. Weasley." "Please Remus, just Arthur." "Arthur then, I know this is imposing a bit with your summer but—" "Nonsense dear, it only pushes back our timetable a week or two at worst. We still have a full month to spend with Charlie." Molly interrupted in a comforting tone. "Of course, Dumbledore took out a bit of money for myself and Harry, it should cover any expenses for him for—" "Put that away, we are volunteering to help Remus and we certainly did not do it for compensation. Besides, if I read my daughter's reactions correctly when we mentioned you would be staying with us, I do believe we owe him quite the debt ourselves for this previous year, and that she certainly doesn't mind him staying with us." The raven-haired boy waved them off, "Just doing what anyone else would in that situation, I assure you." "I think you overestimate what a large portion of people would do, Harry," the Weasley patriarch whispered, before righting himself. "Regardless, we would be honored to have you with us, Harry, and I am sure that my children feel the same." "What is he doing here?" The remaining Weasley children practically jumped from their seats at Ron's indignant shout, while pointing at Harry, who had just appeared in the doorway with his parents. "Harry is going to be staying with us for a bit." "BB, but what about Charlie?" Arthur gave a small sigh. He knew Ron would be the one to throw a fit about this. "We will be visiting your brother once Harry departs, a little patience won't kill you, Ron." "But he might." Even Molly rolled her eyes at this. "You are being ridiculous, Ronald. Harry is not going to hurt you. He is a snake. You do realize that is just a mascot?" the boy softly inquired, earning a scowl from the redhead. "All Slytherins are bad news. I don't want one in my house." "Your house, Ron? I wasn't aware that this was your house. If I remember correctly, I am the one paying for it while your mother maintains it, so unless either of these two responsibilities are going to pass on to you." The boy's silence was all the confirmation his father needed to continue on. "Then that settles it, Harry, you will be staying in Charlie's room for the time being. I was hoping you could stay with Ron, but probably not the best of ideas, Mr. Weasley. You can just call me Arthur, and unfortunately I have to agree with you. Want to read more exciting chapters? Then join my Patreon right now and get access to 60+ premium chapters. Link, #Patreon.com/kittylovesmilk, remove the hashtag. Free members get 2+ advanced chapters for free. Join now. Comment. For comment. Vote. Chapter 25. After a rather filling meal, Molly Weasley had insisted he take seconds, thirds, and was trying to push fourths when her husband gently admonished her. Arthur Weasley gently asked him for a word in private. As the teen entered the room, he noticed that the Weasley matron was present as well, and the two gestured for him to take a seat as they gently closed the door for privacy. "Harry, we wanted to talk to you about what happened during the school year." Said teen nodded, and waited for the adults to choose their words. "We know," Molly began, "that Ginny was having problems making friends, and the twins told us she had been sick, which Ginny confirmed." Here Arthur picked up. "We also know when our children are lying to us. Ginny wasn't sick, was she? I don't want to get anyone in trouble." The two parents smiled warmly. "You won't, dear. We just want to know what happened." He took a calming breath. "There was a diary." "Diary?" "Yes, one that was made with dark magic." The Weasleys had paled dramatically, before the man gave a gentle motion for the boy to continue. "It was draining her life force, making her do things." "Like what?" Glancing to the side, the boy muttered out his next response, "the basilisk." "Oh good heavens." Said teen nodded. "I wanted to tell you both when you came to the school, but with so many other students around, I knew they would blame her." Arthur Weasley barely managed to nod, his mind spinning as he tried to process what was happening. "She seems to be okay now. I already told Fred and George to keep an eye on her just in case, but I know St. Mungo's isn't cheap. I think you should send her there this summer at least for a checkup. I will gladly pay for the expenses." Harry, you don't need to." "I want to. Ginny is a wonderful girl and I hope to see more of her." "Thank you, Harry, that is incredibly generous of you. We will make an appointment before we visit our other son, just in case. Why don't you go finish unpacking? I am sure you are looking forward to sleeping on a bed." Nodding, Harry stood and left, leaving the two adults in silence. "He really is a good boy. Loyal, kind, generous." The man nodded at his wife's assessment. "Also the way Ginny looks at him. So you are going to give her the talk while I have to do the scary older dad speech to the boy who lived?" "One." Molly laughed, "As if you can pull scary off, dear. I will talk to Ginny, but I mean she is around the age where they start getting those urges. Too young for those thoughts." Arthur grumbled, earning another giggle. "One. Oh please, I recall the two of us having a bit of playful fun back then." "I'll show you playful fun," the man growled, before picking the woman up bridal style and carrying her upstairs, much to her delight. 2. Ginny Weasley did not have a problem. There was nothing wrong with sneaking out of her room late at night. All children did it at some point in their lives. There was also no harm in standing in front of a room belonging to an older brother. She missed him dearly after all, so this was completely normal. The fact she had silently unlocked the door and slipped into the room was also no cause for alarm. There was a stranger in the bed and thus it was better that she actually should be checking on them. In a rather flimsy nightgown, with nothing on underneath it. Okay, so Ginny Weasley did have a problem, but this was brushed aside for the moment as she silently tiptoed closer to the object of her not-so-secret desires. Harry Potter was sleeping mere feet away from where she stood. It would be so easy to slip into bed next to him, to take his hands in hers and place them upon her body. Then he would wake from his slumber, and nature would run its course. I can honestly say I do not recall the last time I had someone sneak into a room while I was sleeping. The redhead froze at the voice that broke the peaceful silence. Apparently he was either far more aware than she realized, or she was not as quiet as she thought. Harry. That is my name. I can explain. I would hope so. It is rather odd for someone wearing very little to sneak into a guest's room. Unless this is some odd family tradition I am unaware of. And no. No, of course not. I wanted to see you. You saw me all day, the boy helpfully pointed out playfully. I wanted you to see me. Once again, I have seen you all day. I mean, like you did back at Hogwarts. I want you to see me. Ah, well, it seems you missed something in your master plan. The girl blinked. What had she missed? It is dark in here, my dear Ginny, makes it rather difficult for me to see you, don't you think? Perhaps you came in here for a different reason. The boy merely waited, watching her through the darkness as she bit her lip and shifted between her unclad feet. It was obvious she was having a bit of a mental debate. He had seen Hedwig do similar gestures in such situations after all. Ginny, the girl glanced up to where he had lifted up the blankets on the bed. Do you want to join me? Giving a shy smile and nod, she slowly crossed the distance before climbing into bed with him. Want to read more exciting chapters? Then join my Patreon right now and get access to 60+ premium chapters. Link, #Patreon.com/kittylovesmilk, remove the hashtag. Free members get 2+ advanced chapters for free. Join now. Comment. For comment. Vote.